Chapter 3166. Although he was at the edge of the battlefield and was not as dangerous as the center of the battlefield, there were still threats everywhere. As Night Sorrow traveled, he realized that the battlefield was rather desolate. Basically, he could only see the ruins of the battlefield and the ground that had been turned into sand after the battle. It was hard to even see a tree. Moreover, in the void, there was a constant wind that could almost cut through the skin. If Night Sorrow had not used the evil demon essence to strengthen his body, he would have to use his divine territory to withstand this wind. About half a month had passed as he continued to walk in this manner. Night Sorrow finally entered another illusory realm. In the illusion, Yishang familiarized himself with it for a while and was shocked. This was because he had entered a martial arts competition for a spouse. Standing on the stage, he was the main character of the martial arts competition, accepting all kinds of challenges from the foggy area creatures. The foggy creatures below the stage were all grotesque and ugly. Some of them even made people want to vomit. This is really an illusion that makes me speechless. Night Sorrow was basically aware that the illusion was similar to a mission. However, if he failed the mission, he would be trapped in it and would never be able to leave. Therefore, he did not dare to be careless. "I'll challenge you." Just then, a creature in the foggy area that was made of sticky liquid flowed onto the stage like water. It gradually turned into a humanoid form with no facial features and opened its mouth to speak. "What is this?" Night Sorrow looked at the sticky monster and felt a little disgusted. He thought to himself, if I lose to this thing and stay here with him, I'd rather die. "My name is Venom. I'm your future partner." After the viscous monster Venom spoke again, its body turned into a mirror's appearance. Then, the mirror instantly turned into thousands of fragments and shot towards Night Sorrow. When fighting with sticky monsters, it seems like you can't let them touch you. Otherwise, you'll be sucked in and it'll be hard to break free. Night Sorrow, you must be careful. Seeing the sticky monster Venom turning into thousands of fragments, Xiaowu, who was in the grotto heaven, immediately reminded him. He had heard a little about this kind of sticky monster. "Okay. I won't let them touch me." Night Sorrow replied and released his divine territory. At the same time, he used his movement skill and began to dodge the attacks in front of him in the void. The sticky monster Venom's attack was different from ordinary hidden weapons. It was flexible and multi-sided. Furthermore, during the attack, each fragment could change its shape at any time. If it was an ordinary earthly sovereign, it would be impossible for him to avoid the thousands of attacks. However, Night Sorrow, with his exquisite movement skill, had succeeded. This made Venom very angry. When it realized that this move was useless, it immediately gathered its body together and flew into the void, turning into a green cloud. After it turned into a green cloud, it began to rain. Those raindrops were very dense. If one looked up from the stage, they would find that there was nowhere to hide. If I didn't guess wrongly, these raindrops are all part of your body, right? Let's see, your rain or my fire, my fire, my fire. Night Sorrow, who was looking up, knew that he couldn't avoid these raindrops no matter what. Therefore, he immediately activated the Green Phoenix battle armor and shot out flames. At the same time, he used the Golden Heavenly Halberd and shot out the Roaring Flame Demon Spear. The Roaring Flame Demon Spear also shot out a large amount of flames. Awoo! Awoo! After being burned by the flames, the sticky monster Venom immediately howled. Soon, it revealed its original form. It looked like a pool of sticky liquid. "Xiaowu, how do we kill this sticky monster?" Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to look at the sticky monster Venom, but he didn't know what kind of life form it was. "I'm not sure either. However, everything in the world can be destroyed with force." Xiaowu replied without hesitation. Hearing this, Night Sorrow nodded and said, "That makes sense. Moreover, this is an illusion. I can use the power of merit." With this in mind, Night Sorrow used the Golden Heavenly Halberd to shoot out the Eternal Reincarnation Spear and a Dragon of Merit at the same time. "What is this?" Seeing the Dragon of Merit appear, the sticky monster venom immediately felt a chill. It directly hid in the arena. This was also under the situation where Knight Sorrow's power of merit was only at the supreme level. With the little devil's support, Knight Sorrow's power of merit stabilized at the intermediate supreme level. However, when used against the sticky monster venom in front of him, it could make the other party avoid it very much. It was obvious how effective it was. And although the sticky monster venom kept dodging, its speed in the arena was not as fast as Knight Sorrow's. Not long after, it was completely killed by Knight Sorrow. It caused an uproar below the arena. The creatures in the fog below the arena didn't expect Knight Sorrow to kill the sticky monster venom in front of them so quickly. And Knight Sorrow killed the sticky monster venom in the illusion, so he didn't get the power of merit as a reward. However, he killed it and obtained an essence bottle. Thinking of Duanli, Knight Sorrow directly drank it. As expected. After drinking the essence, his body could immediately absorb it on its own, and he felt very comfortable. Good stuff. It's indeed good stuff. I can feel that if I get a few more bottles, I'll be able to get them. I can definitely advance to a middle earthly sovereign. After drinking the essence bottle, Knight Sorrow felt good. At this moment, he looked at the many foggy area cultivators below the arena and said, "Who else wants to come up?" According to his judgment, if he defeated 3 or 4 more opponents, he should be able to advance to a middle earthly sovereign. Therefore, he took the initiative to issue a challenge. "I also want to challenge you." At this moment, a foggy area cultivator with the appearance of a withered tree suddenly flew onto the arena. She flew onto the arena and transformed into a female cultivator. Hee hee. This female cultivator looks really beautiful. Why don't you stay here and fly together with her, Knight Sorrow? Little Seven, who was in the space cave, immediately joked after seeing the female cultivator's appearance. The reason for that was because the appearance of the female cultivator was simply too beautiful. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that she was so beautiful that she could make the birds fall from the sky and the birds fall from the sky and put the flowers to shame. If I'm not wrong, she's a bewitching tree in the foggy area. No matter what she looks like, she'll make people think that she's beautiful. But in fact, she looks like a withered tree. Knight Sorrow heard Little Seven's joke and immediately responded. At the same time, he used the sea serpent's eye to observe the other party. Knight Sorrow realized that the other party's clothes had disappeared in an instant. What was exposed was a curvaceous and seductive smooth body. He couldn't help but be speechless. What's going on? Clan M. Chapter 3167. This is my body. Isn't it alluring? Do you like it? At that moment, the enchantment tree's alluring voice was heard. Yi Shang could clearly feel the bewitching aura in her voice. He immediately activated his power of merit and released his golden divine territory to isolate this aura. Don't be afraid. Let's have some fun. Just as Knight Sorrow released his divine territory, the enchantment tree twisted her body and walked toward Knight Sorrow step by step. Her movements were no different from a real person. In fact, Knight Sorrow couldn't see any flaws even with the sea serpent's eye. Little Seven teased, "I think this is the battlefield of Slayer of Heaven. Seeing that you're bored from cultivating all year round, it's adding some fun to you." "What fun? This enchantment tree is very strange," Yi Shan said in annoyance. Then, he shot a divine finger at the enchanting tree that was walking over. "Don't be so serious." Facing Knight Sorrow's divine finger, the enchantment tree didn't seem to be angry at all. He said lazily and dodged the attack unhurriedly. Why is she able to dodge my divine finger even though her movement seems slow? Seeing the enchantment tree's movements, Knight Sorrow secretly guessed that he might be under an illusion. He felt that if that wasn't the case, he wouldn't be unable to see through her real body. He immediately used his power of merit to purify his body. TSK, TSK. What are you afraid of? This is her real body. Come on, let's have some fun. The woman transformed from the enchanting tree slowed down when she saw the power of virtue radiating from Yi Shang's body. However, she continued to speak. Die. After completely purifying his body, Night Sorrow could see that the enchantment tree was still naked, but he could see her movements clearly. The enchantment tree's speed was very fast. It didn't look like she was in a hurry at all. While dodging the divine finger, her face suddenly turned cold and she suddenly let out a banshee-like roar. From the appearance of an extremely alluring woman, she turned into a bloody demon. Then, he sneered, "Since you don't want to do it, then you'll have to do it the hard way." However, he attacked Night Sorrow fiercely. She knew very well that it was impossible for her to defeat Night Sorrow with her illusions and bewitchment techniques. Because his heart was like a boulder, unmoved by the 8 winds. "You're the one who gave me the wine, how is that a toast?" Facing the enchanting tree that had transformed into an evil demon, Night Sorrow said. Then, he used the golden heavenly halberd and unleashed the mysterious azure divine spear art. This was a series of continuous attacks, and after it was released, it immediately tangled with the enchanting tree. After the battle began, Night Sorrow's fighting spirit was completely aroused. It was as if the more he fought, the braver he became. When the enchanting tree discovered that it could not charm Night Sorrow, it gradually showed that it was lacking in stamina during the battle. Although her illusions and secret techniques were very powerful, making it impossible for others to see through her, her true battle prowess was not very strong. Soon, he was suppressed by Night Sorrow. Then, she used a few more illusions in succession, but they were all seen through. Night Sorrow's merit power was very effective against her illusions. Often, when the enchanting tree used her illusions, he could break them directly. It was very powerful. Both sides fought for about 30 breaths. The enchanting tree, who was at a disadvantage, suddenly shouted, "Stop, I admit defeat." "You can still admit defeat here?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow was a little surprised. Just as he was surprised, the enchanting tree suddenly flew down from the arena. Then, Night Sorrow successfully obtained the second bottle of essence. After drinking the essence, Night Sorrow felt that his strength had increased again. He was only one step away from becoming a middle earthly sovereign. At this time, his fighting spirit was even stronger. Standing on the arena, he looked down at the cultivators in the foggy area and said, "Who else? I'll do it." As soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking, a stone monster came up from below. After he got on the arena, he did not speak at all. He turned into the shape of a mountain and crushed down on Night Sorrow. His powerful appearance was as if he was going to destroy the world. "Good. Maybe you are the key to me becoming an earthly sovereign." Facing the stone spirit, who had turned into a mountain, Night Sorrow looked up to the sky and roared. Then, he used the golden heavenly halberd to attack with the eternal reincarnation spear. This move, when used alone, had the magical effect of confinement. Moreover, it consumed very little energy. Therefore, he liked to use it recently. Boom! After the two collided, both sides retreated. Night Sorrow was almost blasted into the arena. Obviously, he had also encountered a huge force. The enchanting tree obviously relied on illusions and illusions. However, those were nothing to Night Sorrow. At this time, the stone spirit was an existence that liked to fight head-on. It was completely different from the enchanting tree. Night Sorrow also chose to fight head-on with it. He wanted to fight to his heart's content. "You are very strong, but you are no match for me." Facing Night Sorrow's eternal reincarnation spear, the stone spirit was not paralyzed at all. This was because he did not have a heart and was not affected at all. He immediately turned into a huge stone man and kept trampling on Night Sorrow. These attacks looked very clumsy and primitive. However, the pressure that they brought to Night Sorrow was no less than that of the enchanting tree. On the contrary, it was even more terrifying. This was because the hardness of the stone spirit was too high. It was simply beyond what Night Sorrow had seen. At this time, Little Seven suddenly said, "If you integrate the essence of the stone spirit into the golden heavenly halberd, the golden heavenly halberd will definitely become a true heavenly sovereign divine artifact." Moreover, its grade will not be low. I think you should cherish this opportunity. Oh. Is that true? Then I should really deal with it properly. Hearing Little Seven's voice transmission, Night Sorrow immediately became spirited. He could indeed feel that the hardness of the stone spirit was extraordinary. It was much stronger than an ordinary lower heavenly sovereign. Of course it's true. Normally, this kind of stone spirit absorbs the essence of heaven and earth and eventually develops spiritual intelligence. It has a wonderful effect when integrated into a divine artifact. Little Seven continued and then reminded him, but you have to be careful. This kind of stone spirit absorbs the essence of heaven and earth and will not be tired when fighting. In a situation where your strength is about the same, it will be very difficult to defeat it. I'm only worried that this is an environment and the stone spirit is not real. Night Sorrow replied Little Seven confidently. This was because he had already thought of a way to deal with it. No matter what, this stone spirit was a creature of the fog region. It was born with evil and was very violent. Just as Night Sorrow was about to attack again, he directly set up the virtuous trapping array and then continuously sent the power of merit into the array. He let the power of merit remove the evil aura from the stone spirit's body and prepared to leave only the good aura in it. You want to use your power of merit to purify me? Wishful thinking. But since I was born, I have absorbed all the aura of the fog. There is no good in me at all. The stone spirit could sense Night Sorrow's intention and immediately laughed out loud. At this time, Night Sorrow also laughed and said, if it is as you say, then it is really perfect. Clan M. Chapter 3168. If it was the same as what the stone spirit said, then after it was purified, it would completely turn into a stone without consciousness. This way, Night Sorrow could totally use it to upgrade the golden heavenly halberd to a heavenly supreme divine artifact. What are you laughing at? Seeing Night Sorrow also laughing, the stone spirit realized that something was wrong. It was different from cultivators. If it lost consciousness, it would completely fall and have no chance of reincarnation. After shouting a question, it struggled frantically. Wanting to struggle now, isn't it a little too late? Seeing the stone spirit struggling non-stop, Night Sorrow continued to increase the strength of the power of virtue, continuously purifying this spirit. And the power of virtue was indeed the nemesis of all demons and monsters. At the later stage, this stone spirit was already going all out, but it was still unable to break through the shackles and was completely purified by Night Sorrow. Golden Heavenly Halberd. It's time for you to advance. After purifying the stone spirit, Night Sorrow threw it into the Golden Heavenly Halberd without any hesitation, letting the Golden Heavenly Halberd absorb it. Before long, the Golden Heavenly Halberd bloomed with a sky-piercing light on the stage. Clearly, it was going to advance. Right at this time, countless tribulation clouds drifted over from the void. Following the arrival of the tribulation clouds, the marriage contest stage also disappeared. What replaced it was a dilapidated building complex. It looked like it had already experienced countless years of wind and rain, corroded beyond recognition. Even the spears stabbed into the ground were broken by the cold wind that blew past. Golden Heavenly Halberd, follow me to transcend the tribulation. At this time, Night Sorrow released his divine domain, holding the Golden Heavenly Halberd in the void, waiting for the lightning tribulation to arrive. While waiting, he consumed the essence obtained from defeating the stone spirit. Immediately, his brows furrowed, feeling that he was also ushering in a breakthrough. An instant later, Night Sorrow's lightning tribulation also arrived. Dual lightning tribulations intertwined, the momentum was simply earth-shaking, making mountains and rivers collapse. Dual lightning tribulations descending at the same time. Come at the right time. Just nice, I can use you guys to increase the strength of my body. Holding the Golden Heavenly Halberd, Night Sorrow did not have any intention of cowering in the face of dual lightning tribulations, directly charging into the clouds. He fought frantically. In about an hour, he had successfully defeated the lightning tribulation avatar. After defeating the thunder calamity body, Night Sorrow had become a middle earthly sovereign, while the golden heavenly halberd had officially become a heavenly sovereign divine weapon. Even the faint glow on the spear had changed. It looked much thicker than before. It feels easier than I thought. After overcoming the thunder calamity, Knight Sorrow stood in the void with the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. After going through the continuous battles in the Killer Heaven battlefield, he was obviously tired. Therefore, he left the battlefield according to the instructions on the map. He returned to his residence. After returning to his residence, Knight Sorrow immediately saw the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and the others. At this time, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's cultivation had increased by a lot compared to when he left. However, he was still a distance away from the peak of the earthly sovereign level. He came out to greet Knight Sorrow and continued to cultivate. On the other hand, Bai Mei Sanren's cultivation did not increase much. This made Knight Sorrow feel a little apologetic. Therefore, he took out some resources and handed them to Bai Mei Sanren. "Brother, I've neglected you since we came to the foggy area. You should absorb more resources and strive to break through to the heavenly sovereign level as soon as possible. As for me, I'll be leaving the Killer Heaven Academy for a period of time. When I return, I'll bring you a lot of resources. Brother Yishang, you're too courteous. I followed you to the foggy area, but I didn't help at all. I've even been consuming your resources. That's not good. Why don't you let me leave the Killer Heaven Academy and explore on my own?" Bai Mei Sanren said with some embarrassment. He felt that if he didn't do anything, he would just continue to consume Knight Sorrow's resources. This was no different from being a pet. Therefore, he could not accept it. After all, he was Knight Sorrow's senior. You don't have to be so polite, brother. It's not time for you to contribute yet. When the war starts in the future, you'll have a chance to fight. For now, we're going to travel at night. We'll secretly increase our strength." Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never cared about the gains and losses of resources. He often gave resources to his seniors and juniors. It was the same now. However, at this moment, Bai Mei Sanren said, "Brother Knight Sorrow, I know that you're a righteous person who doesn't care about resources. But I don't deserve it, and it'll affect my cultivation. So, it's better for you to explore on your own. If I encounter any trouble, I'll find a way to contact you." Upon hearing Bai Mei Sanren's words, Knight Sorrow nodded and said, "Then, brother, try to explore near the Killer Heaven Academy so that we can take care of each other. If we're too far away, we might not be able to contact each other." "I won't go too far. A few days ago, I saw on the map that there's a Tianshuang city not far from the Killer Heaven Academy. I'm going to walk around there." Seeing that Knight Sorrow had agreed to his request, Bai Mei Sanren immediately told him his destination. This was something that he had thought through long ago. "All right. I'll send you there, brother. I need to use the teleportation portal there too." Knight Sorrow responded and took out some resources for Bai Mei Sanren again. He handed them to him and said, "Brother, you must bring the white jade with you at all times to prevent yourself from losing your mind." I will." Bai Mei Sanren responded and took out some dishes and a few jars of wine to drink with Knight Sorrow, Chen Qingyun and his wife. As for the cultivators that Knight Sorrow had brought out from the Cloud's Breath mine, they had been cultivating in seclusion and did not participate. Sigh. I miss my hometown. Now that I think about it, I've left the realm of gods for so long. I wonder how my family is doing. After drinking 2 jars of wine, Knight Sorrow thought of his family far away in the realm of gods. Since he was so far away from the realm of gods, he could not sense the condition of his clone and did not know whether his family was doing well or not. He could not help but feel worried. Who doesn't miss home? In this dark foggy area, facing cultivators all day long with no hope at all, it's quite uncomfortable sometimes. Chen Qingyun, who had also drunk a lot of wine, lamented. The current Yishang felt like he was about to soar to the heavens with a single step. However, he and his wife had been stuck at the level of half step to earthly sovereign. They felt even worse than Bai Mei Sanren. Upon hearing this, Night Sorrow looked at the two of them and said, "Don't worry, I'll find a way to help you find elixirs that can improve your body so that you can continue to increase your strength. I'll find a new goal." He knew how torturous it was for a cultivator to not be able to improve their cultivation. Therefore, he had made up his mind to search for suitable treasures for the two of them on this trip. "Thank you, Brother Night Sorrow. I won't stand on ceremony with you." Chen Qingyun cupped his fists at Night Sorrow. He was looking forward to this trip. The ones who were looking forward to this trip the most were Little 7 and Little 9. They really wanted to reunite with Little 8. Clan M. Chapter 3169. When Little 7 and Night Sorrow first met, Night Sorrow was still very weak and could not withstand a single blow from him. But now, Night Sorrow had advanced to Middle Earthly Sovereign, and his divine weapon, Golden Heavenly Halberd, had also advanced to Heavenly Sovereign. And he and Little 9 were still Earthly Sovereign divine weapons, so he felt very disappointed. Therefore, he wanted to quickly reunite with Little 8 and form a Heavenly Sovereign divine weapon, so that his existence would have more meaning. They all knew that Night Sorrow was doing something big to save the Eternal Supreme World. "Brother Night Sorrow, how do you think the half-step to Supreme Realm Coiling Dragon Spear and Supreme Longevity will integrate the Eternal Supreme World?" After following Night Sorrow out of Lu Tian Academy, Bai Mei Sanren asked curiously. "I'm not sure, but I believe that the two seniors will not disappoint." Night Sorrow said, then continued, "Speaking of which, my mission is to kill the holy lords of the 4 great sanctuaries. If they do not have the determination to protect the Eternal Supreme World, I don't mind killing one of them. Then, why don't we go back and take a look, then come back?" Bai Mei Sanren was eager to try. He knew that in the foggy area, one's strength would increase faster than in the Eternal Supreme World. But he wanted to go back and see if Yen had appeared. This was the greatest hope in his heart. After all, he had followed Yen for many years in his previous life. "Since brother has spoken, after we find Little 8, we will return to the Eternal Supreme World and take a look. When the situation there is stable, we will bring you back." After hearing Bai Mei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow was also worried about Supreme Longevity, Jingyun, Wu Lingfei, and the others. He knew that as long as they were integrated, there would be battles and killings. If there were battles and killings, there would be deaths. It was very cruel. He wanted to bring Jingyun, Wu Lingfei, and the other friends who had fought with him to the foggy area to cultivate. After all, in the Eternal Supreme World, the speed of increasing one's strength was too slow and could not keep up with the pace. "Okay. Let's go back and take a look. I mainly want to see if Lord Yen has appeared," Bai Mei Sanren said with a smile. He missed her very much. "Good. Let's go and investigate. Also, I want the Supreme Longevity to take a look at the ancient coffin in my space. Although he might not be able to open it, his knowledge will definitely surpass mine." Night Sorrow said and brought Bai Mei Sanren and the rest to Shri City. Using the teleportation formation, he teleported to Tianshuang City and then to Sea Dragon City where Little 8 was. This Sea Dragon City was backed by a black sea of evil. There were many evil sea dragons in the sea. These sea dragons were natives of the foggy region. They were extremely ferocious and warlike. Only in this Sea Dragon City could they live in peace with cultivators and trade with the things in the Sea of Evil. These sea dragons look very similar to true dragons, but their auras are too evil. Their murderous aura is even stronger than that of ordinary cultivators in the foggy region. Walking side by side with Night Sorrow in Sea Dragon City, Bai Mei Sanren felt uncomfortable being suppressed by their auras after encountering a few sea dragons. He could not help but complain. Maybe it's because these sea dragons have been living in the Sea of Evil for a long time. Night Sorrow, who had also checked the sea dragons' auras, said. The auras of these sea dragons were dozens of times more evil than the stone spirits he encountered in the battlefield of Shri City. This meant that these sea dragons were extremely violent and aggressive. Then, he continued, but this is not important. Let's go to the center of the city to look for Little 8, According to the clues provided by Little 9, Little 8 should be in the center of Sea Dragon City. If one paid a fee, they could cultivate there. Therefore, according to Knight Sorrow's judgment, it was not difficult to enter Little 8. If he wanted to merge with Little 7 and Little 9, he only needed to use the power of merit to purify him. However, when Knight Sorrow and the rest came to the center of the city to ask around, they were completely speechless. It turned out that Little 8 had been swapped by the upper heavenly sovereign, the Sea Dragon King, and brought to the Sea of Evil. He had been placed in the city of the Sea of Evil. I wonder if we can go to the city of the Sea of Evil? After inquiring about Little 8, Yisheng took out some resources and handed them to the cultivator he was holding back before continuing to ask. The cultivator who had been questioned was very impatient, but when he saw that Knight Sorrow had taken out a lot of resources, he immediately smiled and said, "If you want to go to Sea Dragon City to trade, you will have the chance. But you have to go with the team from the city governor's mansion. Otherwise, once you enter, you will be attacked. The Sea Dragon clan has hundreds of thousands of people, and every one of them is very powerful. There is no chance to barge in." "Then how can we join the team from the city governor's mansion?" Knight Sorrow asked. He believed that the resources he had given were enough, so the other party would not be impatient immediately. Hearing this, the male cultivator suddenly said, "Don't tell me you are interested in the Eternal Demon Tower? That thing can't be snatched. Otherwise, you will definitely be killed by the sea dragons." "Hee, of course, we don't want to snatch it. We just want to go and take a look. After all, it is the legendary Supreme Divine Artifact," Knight Sorrow said with a look of anticipation. Seeing Knight Sorrow's expression, the male cultivator was speechless. "To tell you the truth, that is only a part of the Eternal Demon Tower. It is not precious at all. If it is really a Supreme Divine Artifact, why would the city governor give it to the Sea Dragon King?" "That's true. I won't look." Knight Sorrow nodded and did not continue to entangle with the male cultivator. Instead, he found another female cultivator and handed over some resources. He asked, "May I know how to join the city governor's mansion?" "If you want to join the city governor's mansion, it is very simple. Just sign up and pass the assessment." After the female cultivator saw the resources in her hand, she immediately led Knight Sorrow and the rest to a building outside the city governor's mansion. At this time, there were cultivators lining up to sign up in the building. Obviously, they all wanted to join the city governor's mansion. "Let's sign up first and enter the city governor's mansion. Let's see if we can follow them into the Sea of Evil." Knight Sorrow sent a message to Bai Mei Sanren and joined him in the queue to sign up. After signing up, the two of them each received a voice transmission stone and found an inn to rest. 3 days later, Knight Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren received a notice to go to the city governor's mansion to participate in the assessment. The assessment was very simple. It was to defeat an ordinary lower earthly sovereign. For Knight Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren, this was not difficult at all. After passing the assessment, the two of them, along with other cultivators who had passed the assessment, were brought to the city governor's mansion's military camp. After entering the military camp, more than 20 cultivators who had just joined were immediately gathered together. Then, the 4 centurions in the military camp appeared one after another and started to select people. Obviously, they were preparing to add them to their own team. Clan. Chapter 3170. Knight Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren were not peak earthly sovereigns. Among the 20 or so newly joined cultivators, their realms were below average. Therefore, they were selected later on. Bai Mei Sanren was selected to join a team of centurions called Black Revelation. Then, he was separated from Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow joined a team of centurions called Yunyi. Their team had lost a lot of members during the battle. After adding Knight Sorrow and 7 other cultivators, they barely made up 100 people. In this team, Centurion Yunyi was a middle heavenly sovereign. His strength was not bad. As for the Decurions, they were all half-step heavenly sovereigns. There was a certain gap between them and Yunyi. After Night Sorrow and the rest were brought back to the station, Yunyi ordered a decurion to explain the rules to them. Everyone who joined the city governor's mansion was basically a mercenary. Therefore, they would receive a corresponding reward every time they went to war. On normal days, the city governor's mansion's garrison was mainly responsible for maintaining the stability of Sea Dragon City and the surrounding areas. Occasionally, they would go to eliminate some troublemaking tribes near Sea Dragon City. Another reason was that they would accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil periodically to conduct some transactions. Lord Yunyi, we still have to accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil. Won't we be attacked by the sea dragons there? After Yunyi finished speaking, he asked everyone to ask questions. Night Sorrow pretended to be puzzled. Don't worry. Although the sea dragons are all very violent, they still abide by some rules. We will accompany the city governor to the Sea of Evil mainly to conduct battles and transactions. The few who participate in the battles may be in danger of dying, but the rest will be safe. Centurion Yunyi was quite easygoing. After Night Sorrow asked his question, he began to explain. After explaining this, he suddenly said, "That's right. Every time we go to the Sea of Evil for a battle, we will select 16 people to fight. Every team of 100 must choose 4 people to fight. This is a mission and also an opportunity. Whoever wins the battle will receive an extremely generous reward. If any of you are interested, you can tell me in advance." Lord Yunyi, when will we go to the Sea of Evil? What's the reward for fighting the sea dragon? This time, Night Sorrow didn't continue speaking, but a new cultivator asked. They were different from Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's goal was to search for the 8th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, while they were all here for resources. Naturally, he was very interested in such matters. City Lord, we go to the Sea of Evil once every 100 years. There are still 40 years before the next trip. After Centurion Yunyi finished speaking, he continued, the rules of the battle are like this. No matter what level of cultivation we send out, the Sea of Evil will send out a sea dragon of the same level. Generally speaking, sea dragons of the same realm are stronger than us. Therefore, the City Lord's mansion's winning rate every year was not high. Only about 20% to 30%. Thus, the City Lord will not only reward cultivators with large amounts of resources, but will also place them in important positions. After he finished speaking, he added, even if you are defeated in a duel, as long as you are not killed, you will be heavily groomed when you return. To encourage everyone to participate in the battle against the sea dragon. It seems that the sea dragon is not easy to deal with. After Centurion Yunyi finished speaking, the new cultivators began to whisper among themselves. Since they were all mercenaries, there weren't many rules. Yunyi was very easygoing and didn't interrupt them. After they finished their discussion, he explained to them what they needed to do on a daily basis. Then, he assigned them to a decurion who was short of manpower. B****. Why did he assign me a Middle-earthly sovereign this time? What is Lord Yunyi thinking? I have always been filial to him on a daily basis. After Night Sorrow was assigned to a decurion called War Demon, he reported to the City Lord. The decurion, War Demon, who was drinking in the barracks, immediately said unhappily. Then, he ignored Night Sorrow and continued to drink with his 3 subordinates. After waiting for about an hour, they were still drinking. Night Sorrow asked with a smile, "Decurion, I am here. Are you going to accept me or not?" B****. We are drinking, you don't have the chance to talk nonsense. Slap yourself, or else I'll tear your head apart. War Demon immediately roared when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Night Sorrow was immediately angered by his words. He sneered and said, "What do you mean by slap myself? I don't understand. Why don't you demonstrate?" The other party was refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Yi Shang felt that there was no need to be polite with such a person. Oh my. You trash, you have quite a temper. Jia Mao, go and destroy his dantian. After Night Sorrow spoke, War Demon immediately looked at a cultivator beside him. Lord War Demon, Lord Yunyi just sent him here. It's not good to destroy him directly, is it? Jia Mao said hesitantly after War Demon finished speaking. He was an upper earthly sovereign and was confident in his own strength, but he was afraid of offending Yunyi. Humph. Lord Yunyi. I don't care about such things. Go ahead and do it. Even if something happens, I will take care of it. War Demon said indifferently. He knew that Yunyi was a good person who wouldn't offend anyone. Okay. Since Lord War Demon has said so, I will take action. Jiao Mao replied, then looked at Night Sorrow and said, what an arrogant newcomer. The price you will pay for your arrogance is your Dantian being destroyed. According to Lord Yunyi, joining the City Lord Mansion is just a mercenary. You want to destroy him just because of a disagreement? How ruthless. Night Sorrow looked at Jiao Mao with disdain. To him, fighting a lower heavenly sovereign was a piece of cake, let alone an upper earthly sovereign. Looking at Jiao Mao's confident look, he wanted to laugh. Ha ha ha. You are really a rookie. In this foggy area, there are fights everywhere. Where there are fights, there are casualties. What is this? Die. Jiao Mao, who was laughing, drank to the point. Even though he was speaking from a distance, the smell of alcohol could be felt. It made people feel nauseous. He roared and threw a punch at Night Sorrow. This punch was not a threat to Yishang, but even an ordinary Middle Earthly sovereign would be able to withstand it. Therefore, Night Sorrow casually threw a punch and sent him flying back. Bastard! How dare you fight back? Jiao Mao, who had been thrown back, felt some injuries in his body. In his anger, he was half sober. He then took out a light sword and said, do you dare to fight with me outside? I don't want to break this barack. No need. You don't have that ability. Facing Night Sorrow, who was facing Jiao Mao, he snorted coldly in response. Hearing this, Jiao Mao was furious and said, arrogant. Die. He immediately displayed his unique skill in the barack. All-directional quaking sword. Clang. Chapter 3171. When Jiao Mao executed the Shifang domain quake sword, it immediately stirred up a huge commotion in the barracks. Logically speaking, under such a situation, the barracks would definitely be destroyed. No matter how sturdy the barracks were, it was still used for living. It couldn't be as sturdy as a divine weapon. However, right after he made his move, Night Sorrow immediately struck with the Eternal Reincarnation Spear. As soon as this move was executed, Jiao Mao, who wasn't very strong to begin with, was immediately fixed on the spot. The move that he was halfway through immediately vanished into thin air. I told you not to go out. Night Sorrow, who had casually suppressed the aftermath of Jiao Mao's attack, said coldly after capturing him. Jiao Mao had never thought that he would be captured in one move. He felt that it was because he had been careless. He was very unconvinced, but he couldn't find an excuse to say something. So you're an expert who can fight above your level. The War Demon, who had been drinking wine, immediately became interested when he saw Night Sorrow defeat Jiao Mao so easily. He said, very good. I, the War Demon, lack someone like you under my command. Let go of Jiao Mao. You're my man from now on. Who are you calling me your father with? If I remember correctly, you were the one who wanted to destroy my Dantian. The War Demon, who was a Decurion, wanted to reconcile. However, Night Sorrow didn't indulge him at all. He coldly retorted. What? I gave you face, but you don't know what's good for you? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the War Demon immediately stood up and said furiously, since you want your Dantian to be destroyed, come on then. As he spoke, he gave a look to his left and right, signaling the two people beside him to attack together. It seems that this barracks is destined to be destroyed today. Night Sorrow, who was looking at the War Demon and the other two cultivators, released his spirit power and scanned the surroundings. If they started fighting now, Centurion Yunyi would definitely be alerted. He didn't think there was anything wrong with that. Then, he faced the War Devil and the others and started to fight them. Although Night Sorrow was only a middle earthly sovereign, he could already fight with a heavenly sovereign. As such, War Demon, a half-step heavenly sovereign, and the other two upper earthly sovereigns were naturally no match for him. Not long after that, he defeated the War Devil and the others. After being controlled, the War Devil and the others sobered up and realized the severity of the situation. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Yunyi, asking him to take charge of the situation. But Yi Shang didn't kill them because he knew that Yunyi was watching the battle in front of him. War Demon. What's going on with you guys? Yunyi asked gloomily as he hovered in the air. He was usually very easygoing, but at this moment, he was somewhat dignified. Reporting to Centurion, this newcomer challenged us as soon as he was assigned here. We couldn't bear to be humiliated, so we fought with him. I didn't expect that I would be no match for him. After Yunyi said that, the War Devil twisted his words and forced logic. Night Demon, is that what happened? Upon hearing the War Demon's words, Yunyi immediately looked at Night Sorrow. If you're weak, you'll be beaten. Night Sorrow didn't explain the matter. Instead, he said casually. Haha. Good. Well said, the cause and effect of this matter isn't important. What's important is whose fist is harder. Upon hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yunyi smiled. Since the Night Demon won, he'll be the Centurion from now on. As for the War Devil, he'll serve him in the future. As for how the matter between you two will be resolved, I don't care. After saying that, he flew away, no longer caring about the matter. However, Yunyi didn't fly far before he sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Demon. You must go to the Sea of Evil in a few decades. If you can defeat the Sea Dragon, you'll be rewarded handsomely. Alright, I'll think about it. Night Sorrow replied to Yunyi. Then, he looked at the War Devil and the others and said, Summon all my subordinates. This. Yes. The War Devil was stunned at first. Then, he somewhat reluctantly summoned his subordinates. However, he knew that everyone, including himself, would be Night Sorrow's subordinates in the future. He couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He secretly lamented that he had been too rash today. From today onwards, I'll be your Centurion. After the War Devil gathered everyone, Night Sorrow immediately made them stand in a row and announced. Regarding this matter, these people had already received the voice transmission. Therefore, none of them showed any surprise. Seeing that no one had any intention of refuting, Night Sorrow looked at the War Devil and said, From now on, the War Devil will be our team's vice-captain. The daily affairs will be arranged by the War Devil. Thank you, Captain. When the War Devil heard this arrangement, he immediately became spirited. Then, Night Sorrow continued, Arrange a place for me to stay. If there's nothing else, don't disturb my cultivation. Also, I have a friend called White Brows. He's been assigned to Centurion Black Flag's subordinate. Help me find out more about him. Captain. Leave this matter to me. I'm very popular, and I know people over there. As soon as Yi Shang finished speaking, the War Devil immediately patted its chest and bowed to Yi Shang. What a coward who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Although Night Sorrow despised such an existence, he understood that some of the daily affairs still needed the other party to handle. Therefore, he didn't bother too much about today's matter. Then, he was brought to his residence by the War Devil. This was a group of courtyards that occupied an area of 100,000 miles. There were mountains and rivers, as well as some ferocious beasts. These ferocious beasts looked very ferocious on the surface, but like domestic dogs, they were used to guard the courtyard. When Night Sorrow took over this courtyard, they also began to pledge their loyalty to him. In the next few months, Night Sorrow had been cultivating in the courtyard, absorbing all kinds of resources. The daily affairs were left to the War Devil to handle. As for Bai Mei Sanren, the war devil had already inquired about him and had followed a centurion to fight. Until a year after Knight Sorrow had joined the city lord's mansion, the war devil suddenly came to his courtyard. He said urgently, "Lord Knight Devil, a month ago, I led a small team to carry out a mission. But we encountered a strong enemy, and I was the only one who escaped. Please go and rescue them, Lord." "Oh. How many enemies? What's their strength?" The moment the war devil said this, Knight Sorrow was somewhat suspicious. He wondered if the war devil was setting him up. However, after the war devil told him everything and swore a heavenly oath, he was completely sure that the other party was not lying. The situation was like this. The war devil led a small team to carry out a mission, and everything was going smoothly. But after completing the city lord's mansion's mission, they unexpectedly encountered a sea dragon in the wilderness. This sea dragon was in the same realm as the war devil, but its strength was obviously much stronger than his. When they fought, it quickly gained the upper hand. "I'll go with you to rescue them." After hearing the story, he immediately said, "Clan." Chapter 3172. How much time has passed since you escaped from the battlefield? Is your opponent that sea dragon? After leaving the governor's mansion, Knight Sorrow asked. He felt that if it was just a half-step heavenly sovereign sea dragon, he could defeat all 9 of his subordinates. This kind of strength was a little too strong. "Reporting to my lord, less than 4 hours have passed. Our opponent is indeed one person. He seems to be a royal of the Sea Dragon clan. He is very powerful. If he goes up against us, it will be like you going up against Jiao Mao." The war demon explained, then continued, "However, if my lord and I fight together, he will definitely not be our match." "All right. Since you said so, I have a certain understanding of his strength. However, you may not be able to find out his true strength." Yi Shang didn't say anything else and let the war demon lead the way. When Knight Sorrow and the war demon arrived, they found that Sea Dragon had not left at all. He was torturing Knight Sorrow's subordinates. The 8 defeated cultivators all had their cultivations sealed. They knelt on the ground, kowtowing non-stop. Sea Dragon, who had transformed into a human, was saying something with a look of disdain. When Knight Sorrow had discovered him, he had not sensed Knight Sorrow at all. However, when the war demon reached a position where he could observe Sea Dragon, he immediately recognized Sea Dragon. Sea Dragon immediately discovered Knight Sorrow and the war demon. Seeing that the war demon had only brought along a middle earthly sovereign, Knight Sorrow, Sea Dragon Ao Lai immediately laughed arrogantly. "Ha ha ha. I thought you would bring some reinforcements. It turns out that you are a middle earthly sovereign. Your brain wasn't fried by my attack just now, right?" His brain shouldn't have been fried. What should have been fried is your mouth. These subordinates in front of him did not have much interaction with Knight Sorrow, and Knight Sorrow did not want to have a deep relationship with them either. However, when he saw that they were forced to kowtow to Sea Dragon in front of him, an inexplicable anger rose in his chest. As the saying goes, one should not go too far when killing someone. This Sea Dragon in front of him had gone too far. "Humph. You, my reinforcements, are quite confident. You dare to scold this prince? Let's see how many heads you have for me to cut off." Sea Dragon Ao Lai was extremely arrogant. After being reprimanded by Knight Sorrow, he immediately flew into a rage. "You want to kill me? I'm afraid you don't have that ability." Facing the Knight Sorrow of the Sea Dragon, Ao Lai, he didn't think much of him. This was because Ao Lai looked like a half-step heavenly sovereign. According to his estimation, he shouldn't be that strong. Haha. Domineering. I like cultivators like you. When the time comes, I will make your head into a wine cup and use it to drink your blood. At this moment, Sea Dragon Ao Lai wasn't angry. Instead, he laughed. Then, he used his dragon claw to grab Knight Sorrow who was in the air. "Milord, you must be careful. This sea dragon was a member of the royal family and was not easy to deal with. Even if you can defeat him, you must remember not to kill him. Otherwise, we'll be in big trouble. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to fight the sea dragon, the war demon immediately warned him. The sea dragon Aolai had just addressed him as prince, which meant that he was the sea dragon king's prince. If he killed him, the sea dragon king would definitely be enraged. At that time, the entire sea dragon city would be attacked. Don't worry. I'm confident that I can take care of him. Night Sorrow replied to the war demon. Then, he opened the sea dragon's eye and observed Aolai's attack. Aolai's claw looked simple, but it contained some mysterious runes. One look and one could tell that it wasn't simple. If it was a normal attack, it would be a huge mistake. It could be seen that the sea dragon Aolai, who looked arrogant on the surface, had no intention of underestimating Night Sorrow when facing an enemy. Good move. However, this claw is nothing to me at all. Night Sorrow shouted as he faced Aolai's attack and threw out a punch. This punch contained a Dao that was similar to the divine finger. When it collided with the sea dragon Aolai's claw, the surrounding space was immediately destroyed. The shockwaves from the collision sent the kneeling cultivators flying. One could see how powerful it was. Looks like he had his reasons for asking you to come here. You're a good target for practice. When Sea Dragon Aolai saw the might of Night Sorrow's punch, he immediately laughed. I'm afraid you'll regret asking me to practice. Because after this battle, your confidence will be completely shattered. Seeing that the Sea Dragon Aolai still didn't think much of him, Night Sorrow immediately mocked him back. However, he also knew that the other party was the Sea Dragon King's son. He must have many tricks up his sleeve. Therefore, he didn't have the slightest bit of carelessness. You want to shatter my confidence? First, you'll have to ask if the divine weapon in my hand agrees. When the Sea Dragon Aolai heard Night Sorrow's words, he immediately took out a halberd and stood in the air. A heavenly supreme level halberd. The war demon exclaimed when he saw the Sea Dragon Aolai take out a heavenly supreme level halberd. He was extremely worried about Night Sorrow's situation. Although Night Sorrow had dealt with him before, they were now on the same side. Isn't it just a divine weapon? Which cultivator doesn't have a few? Seeing the Sea Dragon Aolai take out a heavenly supreme level halberd, Night Sorrow immediately took out his golden heavenly halberd. At the same time, he activated the Green Phoenix battle armor. These two items were both heavenly supreme level, and their grades were slightly higher than Aolai's Black Dragon halberd. Seeing these items, the Sea Dragon Aolai felt like he had been slapped in the face. He sneered and said, "Good, very good. All of your divine artifacts belong to me." After roaring, the Sea Dragon Aolai waved his halberd and slashed at Night Sorrow. You, a dragon, are using a halberd to fight against me? Where did you get your confidence from? Show me your true form. Facing the Sea Dragon Aolai's halberd, Night Sorrow, who was waving his golden heavenly halberd, didn't use any of his ultimate techniques and easily repelled it. In terms of strength, he had the complete advantage. Although the Sea Dragon Aolai's combat strength was not bad, and he was one of the best among those of the same level. However, facing a monster like Night Sorrow who could easily fight those of a higher level, he was nothing. You asked for it. After using the Black Dragon halberd to fight with Night Sorrow for a while, the Sea Dragon Aolai was indeed no match for Night Sorrow with his halberd. Suddenly, he transformed into a black dragon that was hundreds of feet long, and he suddenly spat out a black dragon breath at Night Sorrow. Sir, be careful. This is the sea dragon's unique black dragon breath. It is filled with an extremely evil aura of resentment. If you are hit by it, you will be filled with resentment. Seeing the Sea Dragon Aolai's breath, the war demon reminded him while dodging. Okay, I got it, replied Night Sorrow. He felt that the war demon was still reliable. Then, he controlled the Green Phoenix battle armor and aimed it at the Black Dragon breath, spitting out fire essence. At the same time, he used the golden heavenly halberd to unleash the Raging Flames Demon Slayer. Facing the Sea Dragon Aolai, he didn't have any intention of dodging. He chose to take all of them head-on. Clank. Chapter 3173. Ignorant. How dare you use your ordinary fire to attack my black dragon's breath? Just wait for my wrath to engulf you. Aolai felt that Night Sorrow was too arrogant and overconfident when he saw that Night Sorrow had chosen to fight him head-on. His black dragon's breath was a unique skill of the evil sea dragons. It was extremely powerful. Your black dragon's breath is not as powerful as you think it is. Night Sorrow, who had chosen to fight him head-on, was still very confident. According to his judgment, the Flame Mountain's flame essence should not be inferior to Aolai's black dragon's breath. After all, it had a trace of destructive aura. Although Night Sorrow did not like Mia, his opponent was still an extreme state expert. Boom. Boom. When the flame essence and fiery demon subduing flames came into contact with the black dragon's breath, there was a deafening explosion. Wave after wave of rumbling sounds were simply earth-shattering. After the flames had completely subsided, Aolai was dumbfounded when he saw that both sides had ended in a draw. He didn't expect that his innate unique skill would be blocked so easily. Even his confidence was shaken a little. You have some skills, but I will kill you today. At this moment, Aolai let out a loud roar and took out a dragon horn from his spatial artifact. He held it in his hand and blew. Then, the dragon horn suddenly made a very strange sound. Hearing this sound, the war demon and the rest immediately hugged their heads and wailed. Night Sorrow was also very uncomfortable. Although he did not say anything, he felt like his head was about to explode. All of you, enter my space grotto heaven. Seeing that his subordinates were basically lying on the ground and wailing in pain, Night Sorrow immediately shouted and kept them in his space grotto heaven. At this time, he had tried a few methods, but he still could not break the attack of the dragon horn. Night Sorrow thought to himself, looks like it. Only by killing him or taking him down can I solve this problem. Thus, he endured the pain and activated the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique again. At the same time, he activated the Green Phoenix battle armor and his bloodline power. Holding the golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he attacked Aolai with the godly spear. You want to kill me in an instant to break the attack of the dragon horn? Wishful thinking. Do you think you can kill me so easily? Sea Dragon Aolai was no fool. He immediately saw through Night Sorrow's intentions. Facing Night Sorrow's attack, he suddenly took out a turtle shell from his spatial artifact and draped it over his body. Even though the attack hadn't reached him, Night Sorrow could feel that Aolai's defense had increased by more than 10 times. He has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. However, his strength is still a little lacking. When Night Sorrow saw Aolai summon his tortoise shell, he sneered and cast the Divine Origin trapping formation. It would bind the other party within, making it impossible for him to escape. Then, he used the godly spear and fiercely bombarded the defensive layer provided by the turtle shell. After all, Night Sorrow had the advantage in terms of strength. The golden heavenly halberd was a pure heavenly sovereign divine artifact. Furthermore, the divine spear's attack was extremely powerful. It immediately blasted a crack through the tortoise shell's defense. Soon after, he violently bombarded the crack. Under Night Sorrow's continuous attacks, Aolai's tortoise shell quickly dimmed. He completely realized that Night Sorrow's strength was obviously stronger than he had imagined. In terms of strength, he was indeed no match for him. As for the war demon and the others, who were in Night Sorrow's space paradise, they were very excited. They felt that Night Sorrow had helped them vent their anger. They were completely in awe of his strength. I have to admit that your strength is far beyond my imagination. However, the one who will die today is still you. Because you don't have what it takes to compete with me. Sea Dragon Aolai roared as he took out another dragon horn and blew on it again. This time, the dragon horn was no longer an attack. Instead, it summoned an army of thousands of men and horses. These creatures should have come from the Sea of Evil. Among them, there was one lower heavenly sovereign and 3 half-step heavenly sovereigns. As for earthly sovereigns, there were about 30 of them. My lord. If we can't win, let's escape immediately. When the war demon in the space paradise saw Aolai summon so many helpers, he immediately transmitted his voice to him. Yi Shan replied, there's no rush. Let's see what they're capable of. If we can't win, it won't be too late to leave. Retreating before fighting is not my style. This. All right. My lord, be careful. Hearing this, the war demon did not say anything else. Facing the sea tribe that Aolai had summoned, Night Sorrow did not retreat immediately. Instead, he adjusted his strength to the maximum and used the mysterious Azure Divine Spear technique to attack them directly. He first dealt with the earthly sovereigns of the sea tribe. In the face of his attack, the earthly sovereigns of the sea tribe were not even worth mentioning. Soon, they were all annihilated. Aolai and the others wanted to protect the earthly sovereigns, but they were unable to do so. Seeing Night Sorrow kill so many of the sea tribe in front of them, Aolai was furious. Sea Dragon Aolai was completely enraged. He roared, "Kill! Let's attack together and kill him. Use your strongest techniques." Yes. Ninth Prince. The summoned heavenly sovereigns and the other 3 half-step heavenly sovereigns responded. They immediately prepared to attack. Not good. Sir, retreat quickly. They are using the superpower that the Sea Dragon clan obtained from the Eternal Sovereign Realm. The war demon reminded them again. He knew that Aolai and the others were using the territorial superpower that they had obtained from the Eternal Sovereign Realm. The Eternal Sovereign Realm's superpower? Hearing this, Night Sorrow did not have any intention of escaping. Instead, he became more interested. To him, the territorial superpower was very tempting. The thought of capturing one rose in his heart and learning the divine ability. Green Dragon illuminating the moon. At this moment, Aolai and the others roared in unison. The 5 of them simultaneously used the Green Dragon territory's superpower, Green Dragon illuminating the moon. In an instant, they all transformed into green dragons and attacked Night Sorrow. They are actually learning the Eternal Sovereign Realm's superpower? Ridiculous. Originally, Night Sorrow was still a little afraid of their superpower. But now, he saw Aolai and the others transform into green dragons and attack him. He immediately understood that these creatures in the fog could not unleash the full power of their superpower. This must have something to do with their dark aura. It's good that I can kill you. In the face of Night Sorrow's mockery, Aolai roared and attacked Night Sorrow with the other cultivators who had transformed into green dragons. Want to kill me? You are not qualified. At this moment, Night Sorrow was only a little afraid of Aolai and the Heavenly Sovereign. As for the other 3 half-step heavenly sovereigns, he did not care at all. This was because ordinary half-step heavenly sovereigns could not withstand a single blow from him. After replying, he waved the golden heavenly halberd in his hand and fought with the dragons in the void. Clang! Chapter 3174. This Azure Dragon illuminating the moon was the ability of the Azure Dragon territory, and most of the people in the Azure Dragon territory were pure-blooded Azure Dragons. The sea dragons in front of him obviously did not use their strongest strength. However, these 5 dragons were still very strong when they joined forces. After Night Sorrow killed one of them, he felt that if the stalemate continued, he would need to use the power of merit. Therefore, after fighting for a while, he had the intention to leave. He felt that there was no need to expose his identity because of these dragons. After all, this place was very close to Sea Dragon City. If he attacked rashly, he might be noticed by the Sea Dragon City Lord. If his identity as an Eternal Supreme Realm expert was exposed, he would lose a lot for a small gain. Now is the time. We can leave now. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow took the opportunity to use his movement technique to leave after injuring Aolai. His speed was faster than the few people in front of him, and he soon escaped far away. Escape? Where can you escape to? Seeing that Yi Shan had chosen to flee, Aolai instantly revealed a trace of a cold smile between his brows. After flying for about 20 breaths, Night Sorrow, who had opened the Sea Dragon Eye, suddenly found that there were 2 Sky Supreme Sea Dragons intercepting him on the way to Sea Dragon City. He immediately changed direction and flew in another direction. Sir, quickly send a voice transmission to Sir Yunyi and ask him to bring reinforcements. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to escape today. The war demon in the space grotto heaven immediately sent a voice transmission in fear when he saw 2 more Sky Supreme Sea Dragons. No need for reinforcements. We can deal with these people in front of us. Night Sorrow, who was being chased, saw that these sea dragons were chasing him relentlessly and understood that they were prepared to kill him. He immediately became angry. He thought to himself, you asked for it. Then, he ignited his bloodline and increased his speed again. As Night Sorrow increased his speed and fled for a distance, Sea Dragon Aolai's ability was up and he turned back into a sea dragon. This caused their speed to drop a little. At this moment, Aolai ordered, ignite your bloodline, increase. We can't let him escape, or else we won't have any face left. Yes. 9th Prince. The rest of them immediately burned their speed and chased after him. As for the 2 half-step heavenly sovereigns, one of the heavenly sovereigns had taken them into the space and was now chasing after them. I'm afraid you won't chase after me. Yi Shan looked at the dragons that were chasing after him and instantly had a plan in his heart. After escaping into a mountain shrouded in mist, he set up an illusion array in the mountain. He had set up this illusion array because it was easy to set up. He wanted to use it to trap Aolai and the others. Then, he would use the time to set up the 5 bulls formation and use it to deal with them. They wouldn't be stupid enough to enter the array together, would they? Upon seeing Night Sorrow setting up an illusion array, Little Seven immediately sent a voice transmission. You think too highly of them. To these bloodthirsty sea dragons, they only want to kill me. How can they think of anything else? Night Sorrow said with a smile. He was waiting for Aolai and the other sea dragons to tire him out. As for Aolai and the others, they were not too far away from him. After about 10 breaths of time, they caught up. Just as Night Sorrow had expected, after they caught up, they did not even think and directly attack Night Sorrow. Perhaps it was because in their eyes, Yi Sorrow was only one person, and he wasn't a threat at all. It was impossible for him to be a threat to them. However, in less than 10 breaths of time, they regretted it. This was because after attacking Night Sorrow, they found themselves completely trapped in an illusion. These sea dragons clearly knew that they were trapped in an illusion, but they had no way to break free and were completely trapped. They could only rely on brute force to break the array. However, Aolai and the others were still quite strong. With the help of the divine weapons, they quickly shook the array. It would not be long before they could escape. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow secretly used some of his power of merit to strengthen the array. At the same time, he quickly set up the 5 bulls formation. In about 2 hours, the complete 5 bulls array was set up by Night Sorrow. At this moment, he secretly withdrew his power of merit and walked into the array again. Interesting. You used an array to trap us, but you didn't choose to escape. Seeing that Night Sorrow actually chose to enter the array, Aolai immediately sneered. The other sea dragons were in a very arrogant state. They looked like hounds that had been locked up for a long time. You're still the interesting one. If I didn't have the confidence to deal with you, how could I appear? All of you, wait for death. If you don't take out some heaven-defying methods, you will all die here today. Night Sorrow roared and silently chanted the incantation, activating the 5 bulls array. Mu. Me. Ma. Ni. Roar. After the 5 bulls array was activated, it immediately let out an earth-shattering roar. Under the attack of this roar, Aolai and the other sea dragons immediately realized that something was wrong. Although Night Sorrow was not much weaker than them in terms of strength, the power of the array formation he set up was truly too great. Although they could still withstand it for the time being, if Night Sorrow attacked, they definitely had no chance of winning. Now you know the meaning of not chasing a cornered enemy. Seeing that Ao Lai and the others were affected by the 5 Bulls array, Night Sorrow once again took out the golden heavenly halberd and completely exploded. Under his fierce attack, Ao Lai and the others quickly lost the ability to resist. At this moment, while the war demon was shocked, he couldn't help but remind, "My lord, you can kill the other sea dragons, but you can't kill Ao Lai. If you kill him, the Sea Dragon King will definitely look for your whereabouts. The Sea Dragon King has the strength of an upper heavenly sovereign and can advance to half-step to the supreme realm at any time. He's definitely not someone you can fight against. How can you be sure that the Sea Dragon King can find me?" Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. He didn't know much about the methods of the Sea Dragon clan. "My lord, as long as you kill the royal family of the Sea Dragon clan, a mark will appear on your body. With this mark, no matter where you escape, the Sea Dragon King will track you down." The war demon, who understood the Sea Dragon clan better, explained word by word. I got it." Hearing this, Night Sorrow felt that this Sea Dragon Ao Lai really couldn't be killed casually. Therefore, after killing all the other sea dragons, Night Sorrow kept Ao Lai in his own space grotto heaven. He said, "If you don't want to be tortured, use resources or divine weapons to buy your own life. Hee. You don't dare to kill me at all. Otherwise, my father won't let you off." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ao Lai immediately said indifferently, "For now, I can't kill you, but I have many methods to deal with you." After saying that, Night Sorrow summoned Ao Lai and threw him into the 5 Bulls formation. He then used the formation to attack Ao Lai again. For a moment, Ao Lai's divine soul trembled violently. It looked like he was about to die at any time. Clan M. Chapter 3175. Do you think I, the royal family of the Sea of Evil, will be afraid of your torture? You want me to compromise? Dream on. Ao Lai, who was being attacked by the 5 Bull formation, was still stubborn. He knew that Night Sorrow did not dare to kill him directly, so he had no fear in his heart. As for the pain his soul suffered, although it was unbearable, he felt that he could endure it. After all, the Sea Dragon Emperor originally had tens of thousands of children. After going through thousands of hardships, only 9 sons and 3 daughters had grown up. These princes and princesses had all gone through cruel trials. Not only were their combat strength strong, but their willpower was also very strong. If you feel better, then continue to enjoy it. I won't kill you, but I won't let you go either. Prepare to be accompanied by pain for the rest of your life. Night Sorrow saw that Ao Lai's willpower was very tenacious, so he did not intend to continue torturing him. In fact, he knew many methods, but using them to torture his opponent was not his style. "Sir, I have a way to deal with him." Seeing that Night Sorrow did not want to continue torturing Ao Lai, the war demon was a little stunned. Then, it transmitted its voice. "Oh. What do you think?" Night Sorrow looked at the war demon as he kept Ao Lai in his space grotto heaven. "The truth is like this. Because the Sea Dragon race is very warlike, they usually fight with us countless times. Later, the Sea Dragon King and the City Lord established diplomatic relations. In order to prevent important people from both sides from dying, they made a rule. That is, if important people from both sides are captured, they can exchange resources with the other side through the City Lord or the Sea Dragon King." The war demon explained and continued, "Although most of the resources will belong to the City Lord, if you hand over the 9th prince, you will definitely receive the City Lord's appreciation. It's not a loss. That works too. There's no use in keeping him. It's better to sell him as a piglet," Night Sorrow said with a smile. He felt that this was a reasonable way to deal with Ao Lai in front of him. After all, This guy could not be killed for the time being, and he was not afraid of pain. Under such circumstances, they could make an exchange with the city lord to make him lose face in exchange for resources. No matter how stingy the city lord, who he had never met, was, he would not refuse to give him anything. However, if you want to see the city lord, you have to go through Lord Yunyi. This is the rule of Sea Dragon City. The war demon continued. It realized that Night Sorrow didn't know anything about the surrounding area, so it began to explain the situation to him. Today, the war devil was very grateful that Night Sorrow had saved them. At this moment, the other 8 people in Night Sorrow's grotto heaven were so grateful that they prostrated themselves on the ground. If it weren't for Night Sorrow today, these small fries would have become Aoli's food. There's no need to rush. Let's go back to the barracks and treat our brothers first. After deciding what to do, Night Sorrow was no longer in a hurry. After returning to the barracks, he used all kinds of resources to save all 8 of his subordinates. After these people recovered, they all knelt in front of Night Sorrow and said gratefully, "Thank you, sir, for giving us a new lease on life. We are willing to sacrifice our lives for Sir in the future." "You're welcome. I'm a Decurion, your leader. It's my duty to save you. If there's nothing else, you can go back and rest. Don't go out to do missions today. Rest well for a while. War demon, stay." Yi Shang looked at them. He could understand how grateful these people were that they were lucky enough to survive. After all, it wasn't easy for every cultivator to cultivate to the Earth's sovereign level. No one was willing to sacrifice their lives. "Sir, are we going to see Lord Yunyi now?" The war demon asked immediately. After today's battle, the war demon admired Night Sorrow very much. He felt that following him would definitely have a bright future. He was practically at his beck and call. "Yes. I hope to see the city lord through Lord Yunyi," Night Sorrow said, then continued, "Lead the way. You're more familiar with the city lord's mansion than I am." "All right. Sir. Please follow me to Lord Yunye's residence." The war demon was like an ancient eunuch. He nodded and bowed as he led the way. When they arrived outside Yunye's courtyard, he immediately went up to report. When he found out that it was Decurion Night Sorrow, Yunyi immediately ordered people to bring them in. However, when they reached the door of the study, the war demon was left behind. Only Night Sorrow was invited in. When Night Sorrow entered Yunye's study, he found that Yunyi was writing. After observing for a while, Night Sorrow found that Yunyi was writing, "Can the heavens be reversed? Can the heavens be reversed?" Night Sorrow looked and found that Yunye's murderous aura was much smaller than the average person's. Relatively speaking, he was more refined in the misty area. He wasn't like the others, who were full of murderous aura and looked like a battle maniac. "Yes. Can the heavens be reversed? Night Demon, can you see anything?" Night Sorrow stared at Yunye's words and asked. In fact, he had seen these words on a copybook. The copybook came from the Eternal Supreme Realm. It was obvious that it was written by a big shot. However, Yunyi had scrutinized it countless times and couldn't see the meaning behind it. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, "On the surface, the meaning is naturally to ask if the heavens can be reversed. But in reality, I'm afraid that if I see the original, I can still discern a thing or two." He could already see that these words weren't written by Yunyi. Yunyi immediately perked up. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Demon, you have good eyes. Then, do you want to take a look at the original? See if you can see what it contains." Someone with such boldness must be a big shot. The secret it contains is definitely not simple. It's not good whether I can see through it or not. Forget it. Night Sorrow said with a smile and continued, "Actually, Lord Yunyi, the purpose of my trip is to meet the city lord through you." "Oh? Why do you want to meet the city lord?" When Yunyi heard this, he immediately shifted his thoughts away from the copybook. "It's like this. A few days ago, my subordinates bumped into the Sea Dragon King's 9th Prince Aolai. After a fierce battle, I captured this 9th Prince Aolai together. Because I didn't dare to kill him, I wanted the city lord to use him to exchange for resources. Knight Sorrow recounted the matter truthfully. 9th Prince Aolai? Are you sure? Hearing this, Yunyi immediately perked up. Of course I'm sure. How could Night Demon joke about this kind of thing? Night Sorrow promised. Ha ha ha. That's great, that's great. Yunyi laughed out loud. Clan M. Chapter 3176. Oh. From the looks of it, this 9th Prince Aolai is useful to Lord Yunyi? Yi Shang saw Yun Ye's reaction and instantly guessed what was going on. Useful. Too useful. One of my best friends was captured by the Sea Dragon Palace. Their price is too high, and we don't have enough resources to exchange for him. Now that you've captured Aolai, my good friend should be able to escape. Yunyi looked at Night Sorrow excitedly and said, Night Demon, I'll use Aolai to exchange for my best friend. I won't treat you unfairly. Don't worry. Of course. To me, this Aolai has no value at all. Since Lord Yunyi needs it, I'll give it to you directly. As he spoke, Night Sorrow magnanimously summoned Aolai and handed it over to Yunyi. Haha. This aura is definitely that of the Sea Dragon royal family. Night Demon, you've really given me a big surprise this time. After putting Aolai away, Yunyi thought for a moment and took out a piece of calligraphy from his spatial artifact. This is the calligraphy that I wanted you to take a look at. Although I can't tell what it is. But I can be sure that it's definitely the work of a big shot. It won't be lower than Aolai's value. I'll give it to you. Lord Yunyi, how can this be? As the saying goes, a gentleman doesn't take what others love. I can't accept this calligraphy. Seeing Yunyi take out the calligraphy, Night Sorrow immediately declined. But at this moment, Little Seven suddenly said, this calligraphy is not simple. If you can obtain it, you might be able to gain a lot. Oh. What did you see? Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice. I can see that there's a seal on this calligraphy, but I can't see what's going on. Little Seven said and continued, if this calligraphy is very ordinary, why would there be a seal? And it's so hidden. Yunyi definitely didn't see the seal on it. That's true. Night Sorrow nodded. At this moment, when Yunyi saw Night Sorrow refuse, he immediately laughed and said, if you don't want it, then I'll have to add more resources. I'll take it that you think this calligraphy is too shabby. Unknowingly, Yunyi, who was in a good mood, had already started calling Night Sorrow his brother. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and took the copybook, saying, I, Night Sorrow, won't be pretentious. Just take it as my elder brother taking care of me. Haha. That was not the case. When my friend is swapped back, I'll introduce you to him. Speaking of which, you are his savior. Yunyi said with a smile and ordered his subordinates to prepare the food and wine. After having a good drink with Night Sorrow, Yunyi said to Night Sorrow, I'm in a hurry to save someone, so I won't entertain you. Let's meet again next time. From now on, your Night Demon's business is my business. Go. Farewell. When Night Sorrow heard this, he immediately took his leave and returned to the barracks with the War Demon. After returning to the barracks, the War Demon looked at Night Sorrow suspiciously and said, My lord, why didn't you go to the City Lord's mansion with Lord Yunyi? Wouldn't Lord Yunyi have taken all the credit this way? Lord Yunyi said that he has a close friend who was captured by the Sea Dragon clan and wanted to use Aolai to exchange for him. So I gave him Aolai in exchange for a favor. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He felt that there was nothing wrong with the way this matter was handled. Moreover, he felt that it was a good deal to exchange for a copybook. Sigh. My lord. As far as I know, Lord Yunyi doesn't seem to have any close friends. I reckon that he used Aolai to exchange for cultivation resources. When the War Demon heard this, it immediately beat its chest and stomped its feet. No matter what Lord Yunyi exchanged for, we will support him. We just need to support him. After all, in this world, strength speaks for itself. Knight Sorrow said with a smile. He cultivated the power of virtue and could tell that Yunyi wasn't lying. It seemed that his close friend had been captured for a long time, so the war demon and the others had never heard of him. It was no wonder that Yunyi was so surprised when he heard that Knight Sorrow had captured Ao Lai. He had even given away the copybook that he had studied for countless years. My lord is right. When Knight Sorrow finished speaking, the war demon was immediately speechless. He thought that this Lord Night Demon was a smart person. Then, after being informed by Knight Sorrow, he took his leave and returned. Yi Shang, on the other hand, set up a formation and began to study the calligraphy he'd obtained from Yunyi. As soon as he took out the copybook, Knight Sorrow felt a magnificent aura. The person who had written these words must be a legendary expert. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to write with such an aura. However, such an aura was only on the surface. After observing it with the sea serpent's eye, Knight Sorrow could see that there was indeed a formation on the copybook. He said, "There is indeed a hidden formation on this copybook. However, it looks like the runes are very complicated. It shouldn't be something that I can easily decipher. We don't have a way to decipher it either." After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Little 7, Little 9, and the others also spoke up. At this time, the female seal-breaking hammers smiled and said, "Isn't breaking formations what we're good at? Let's give it a try." After saying that, the pair of seal-breaking hammers began to study the formation on the copybook. However, after many attempts, they realized that the level of the formation on the copybook was too high. Although they knew the way to decipher it, they weren't strong enough. The male seal-breaking hammer sighed and said, "If we can advance to the Sky Supreme level, we'll definitely be able to decipher it. There's nothing else to do now. I'll think of a way to find materials for you to advance." Knight Sorrow had used some of the materials he had obtained in the past on the golden heavenly halberd and had neglected the seal-breaking hammers. When he heard the male seal-breaking hammer's words, he immediately felt a little embarrassed. In the following period of time, he asked the war demon and the others to pay attention to materials that could be used to forge Sky Supreme artifacts. However, Sea Dragon City was located in a remote area and had limited information. The Sky Supreme materials that could be found were all very expensive. Knight Sorrow couldn't exchange for them. However, just as he was thinking about how to obtain these materials, Yunyi suddenly brought a male cultivator to Knight Sorrow. After the introduction, Knight Sorrow learned that this male cultivator was called Xian Nian, which gave off a very similar feeling to Yunye's name. Looking at his personality, it seemed that he was similar to Yunyi. No wonder the two of them could become close friends. "Brother Night Demon, it's all thanks to you that I was able to rescue Xian Nian. A few years ago, I discovered an underground cave in a secluded area. However, I didn't have any helpers, so I didn't try to enter. This time, Xian Nian has returned, so I'm prepared to explore. Do you want to follow me?" After Xian Nian thanked Knight Sorrow, Yunyi invited him to go to the cave to search for resources. Clan. Chapter 3177. Brother Yunyi, Night Demon's strength is low, and the gap between you and him is huge. He might become a burden if he follows you to explore the cave. It's better not to go. Moreover, the copybook is enough to save Brother Xian Nian. Don't take it to heart. Knight Sorrow knew that Yunyi and Xian Nian must have felt that the copybook was not enough to repay him for capturing Ao Lai, so they wanted to bring him to explore the cave. He would definitely be rewarded. However, he felt that this was not good, as it would seem like he was constantly asking for credit. As for Yunyi and Xian Nian's characters, they were not bad, and they did not seem like cultivators from the foggy area. Knight Sorrow, who was cultivating the power of merit, could feel it. "Hey! How can a copybook be enough to exchange for my life?" Seeing that Knight Sorrow had rejected him, Xian Nian smiled and said, Moreover, we saw you as a friend, so we invited you. After all, the more reliable helpers we have, the better. That's right. We saw that you were talented and you were a good person, so we wanted to bring you along. As for the rewards, we will rely on our own abilities. Although you're going with us, you might not be able to get anything good. Yinyi chimed in as well. Before coming, he had never thought that Night Sorrow would reject him. At this moment, Yi Shang's refusal made Yi Futian value him even more. He could see that Yi Shang was not pretending to be polite. Night Sorrow, don't the restriction-breaking hammer need materials to advance to the level of a heavenly sovereign? Why don't you go with them? After Yun Yi and Xian Nian finished talking, Little Seven persuaded him. I don't like to owe people favors, especially from cultivators from the foggy area. Moreover, they are being polite now, but what if they find some amazing secret treasures? Yun Yi and Xian Nian were middle heavenly sovereigns and lower heavenly sovereigns, and their auras were very strong. Night Sorrow could fight Xian Nian alone, but against the two of them, he could only choose to escape. After replying to Little Seven, Yi Shang continued, I appreciate your kind intentions, but I need to find some heavenly sovereign level materials in the next few days. As for the cave, I really don't have time to go. Haha. If you need resources, isn't it good to go to the cave to search? Don't be polite. Yinyi said, it's settled then. We will leave tomorrow. Let's have a good drink today. It's a welcome party for Xian Nian. You don't know how he has been treated over there. Yinyi didn't even give Yi Shang a chance to refute before settling the matter. Xian Nian sighed and said, originally, my strength was on par with Brother Yun, but now, the difference is so great. Now that I've come out, I'm truly grateful to Brother Night Demon. This cup of wine is for you alone. Brother Xian Nian. Yi Shang also raised his cup and drank with the other party. Then, Xian Nian began to tell Yun Yi and Night Sorrow about how he had been imprisoned and tortured in the Sea of Evil. The nature of the sea dragons was so evil that it was against the heavens. Because of that, he had spent his days there. Now that Night Sorrow had been rescued, his gratitude toward him was indescribable. Brother Xian Nian, how many cultivators were imprisoned over there? Night Sorrow immediately asked after hearing Xian Nian's story. At this moment, he was pondering something in his heart. If there were many cultivators imprisoned over there, he would find a way to release all of them when he reached the Sea of Evil. He would let them create chaos and then take the opportunity to take Little Eight back. Hearing Night Sorrow's question, Xian Nian sighed and said, too many. No less than 200. Many of them were imprisoned by the sea dragons before they established diplomatic relations with the city governor. They were imprisoned in a dark cage, and no one came to rescue them. They would be tortured for eternity. And those sea dragons were so cruel that they did not even give them a chance to self-destruct. These sea dragons are really not good for anything. Then why did the city governor establish diplomatic relations with them? Night Sorrow asked, puzzled. After he asked this question, Yun Ye's expression changed slightly and said, I'll tell you this, but you can't reveal it. The city governor and the Sea Dragon King have a beneficial relationship. We don't know what it is exactly. Of course, Night Devil won't reveal it. Hearing this, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and had his own guess. Then, he changed the topic to the cave abode. With Yun Yi and Xian Nian's explanation, Night Sorrow was sure that the two of them did not know much about the cave abode. However, the seal at the cave abode's entrance was not simple, which proved that the cave abode's owner was very powerful. The next day, Night Sorrow told the War Devil and the others that he was going to find the cave abode with Yun Yi and Xian Nian. The entrance to the cave abode was in an underground river in a rift valley. After the three of them sneaked in, they found that the seal at the cave abode's entrance was still there, which proved that no one had been here before. The two of you, please wait for a moment. I've already studied the seal of the cave abode several times. I have some insights. Let's start breaking the seal now. After confirming that no one had been here before, Yun Yi asked Night Sorrow and Xian Nian to step back while he broke the seal in front of them. While Yun Yi was breaking the seal, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer sent a voice transmission. Night Sorrow. The owner of this cave abode is more powerful than you think. Oh. What did you see? Asked Night Sorrow. If we're not mistaken, the entrance seal in front of us was sealed by a few random words written by the owner of the cave in an extremely hasty situation. Even so, the grade of this seal is almost at the level of an upper heavenly sovereign. This proves that the cave abode's owner is at least a half step to the supreme realm. The male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer judged. I didn't look carefully just now. As Yunyi was breaking the seal, Night Sorrow did not look carefully. Now that he heard the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer say so, he immediately opened the sea serpent's eye to observe. He immediately saw the words that sealed the entrance, waiting for the fated one. Waiting for the fated one? Seeing these words, Night Sorrow immediately thought of the calligraphy on his body. Although the handwriting looked a little messy, it had a very similar style to the heaven-defying question on the copybook. It was very likely that they were written by the same person. After seeing these words clearly, Night Sorrow's emotions were a little complicated. After thinking for a while, he said, Brother Yunyi, did you see the words that sealed the cave abode? It seems to have a similar aura to the calligraphy on the calligraphy. Oh. There are words? I didn't see them. Yunyi was puzzled when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Xian Nian also looked over with interest. Night Sorrow did not hold back and slowly said the words that sealed the entrance. Waiting for the fated one? Then who is the fated one? Hearing this, Yunyi immediately frowned. Chapter 3178. If it's a fated person, can we enter directly without breaking the seal? Xian Nian asked as he looked at the entrance of the cave abode. Hearing that, Yunyi immediately perked up and said, We'll know once we try. After saying that, he walked in front towards the entrance of the cave abode. However, he was bounced back by the lake-like entrance and was injured. I can't. You guys try. Yunyi said in disappointment as he spat out a mouthful of black blood. Don't be disappointed. It's the same whether we can enter. Xian Nian comforted Yunyi when he saw his disappointment. Then, he also walked towards the entrance. However, his ending was the same as Yunyi's. Then, the two of them looked at Night Sorrow and said, Brother Night Demon, you can try. However, you have to activate your divine territory and armor first. In case you can't block the attack. Okay. I'll try. Night Sorrow said as he activated his divine territory and armor and slowly walked towards the entrance. Because he had the calligraphy on him, he felt that he had a lot of hope. However, things did not go as he wished. In the end, he was bounced back like Yunyi and Xian Nian. He was injured. Could it be that I didn't take out the calligraphy? I can't sense the entrance of the cave abode. Night Sorrow, who had been attacked, said as he took out the calligraphy that Yunyi had given him from his spatial artifact. He held it in his hand and walked towards the entrance. Boom. However, Night Sorrow was still attacked this time. The calligraphy in his hand did not work at all. Fortunately, the calligraphy was very sturdy and was not broken by this attack. Brother Night Demon, are you alright? The two of them, who had almost recovered, immediately went forward when they saw that Night Sorrow was injured. Among them, Yunyi handed over a restorative pill. I'm fine. However, this cave abode doesn't seem to be easy to enter. We don't seem to be fated. Night Sorrow said unhappily as he swallowed the pill. Originally, he was not very interested in this cave abode. However, he was now energized and wanted to go in and see what was going on. I'll continue to try to break the formation. Yunyi said as he continued to try to break the formation. However, in the end, he still failed to break the array formation. After that, Xian Nian also tried to break the array at the entrance, but he still couldn't break it. Then, Yunyi said in disappointment, originally, we wanted to bring Brother Night Demon into the cave abode to find some resources. Who would have thought that he wouldn't be able to enter at all? What a disappointment. Let's go. Are we leaving now? Night Sorrow asked Yunyi. Yes. We can't break the array formation at the entrance. Let's just leave. Yunyi said helplessly. I don't think all the methods have been tried yet. At this time, Night Sorrow smiled and said, we can try to attack the entrance directly. Who knows, we might be able to blast it open. Oh. What you said is not without reason. Hearing this, Yunyi immediately nodded. Xian Nian also felt that it was worth a try. Hence, they all took out their divine artifacts and began to bombard the entrance of the cave. However, the final result was still failure. I have another method, but I can't try it in front of the two of them. After everyone had tried various methods and failed, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven. You mean, we should use that thing to bombard the entrance of the cave abode? Little Seven asked doubtfully. Yes. But I can't do it in front of them. After all, we just met not long ago. I can't casually reveal my methods. After saying this, Night Sorrow left with Yunyi and Xian Nian and returned to the city governor's mansion. Then, Yunyi and Xian Nian went to do other things. Night Sorrow returned to the entrance of the cave abode alone. After observing for a while, he set up an array formation around the area, afraid that he would make too much noise and be discovered by others. After setting up the array formation, Night Sorrow took out the ancient coffin from the void dimension. After brewing for a while, he suddenly smashed it at the entrance of the cave abode. Under the continuous bombardment, the entrance of the cave abode could not withstand it and was blasted open. Is this fate? After using the ancient coffin to blast open the entrance, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then, he put away the ancient coffin, opened the sea serpent's eye, and carefully walked into the cave abode. This was not because he liked to eat alone, but because the secret of the ancient coffin could not be exposed casually. After entering, Night Sorrow realized that the cave abode was very simple and crude. It seemed to have been casually slashed out by a sword. In the pitch-black space, there were no decorations or cultivator corpses. According to the judgment of Night Sorrow and the restriction-breaking hammer, this should be a cave abode that a cultivator had casually opened when he was seriously injured. They had thought that the cultivator had died, but now it seemed that was not the case. However, although there were no cultivators or decorations in this cave abode, there was a ring. This should have been deliberately left behind by that cultivator. There are really a lot of resources inside. After Night Sorrow injected his divine essence and activated the ring, he immediately realized that there were a lot of resources in the ring. It was enough for him to upgrade the restriction-breaking hammer to a heavenly supreme divine artifact. There's no time like the present. Restriction-breaking hammers, I'll help you guys upgrade. When he saw these resources, Night Sorrow did not hesitate and immediately took them out for the restriction-breaking hammers to absorb. A divine artifact like the restriction-breaking hammers was very special. They could only be absorbed by themselves and could not be refined. After waiting for about a month in the cave abode, the male and female hammers both advanced to the heavenly supreme level. After advancing, the female hammer immediately said, Night Sorrow, I discovered that there's not only the ring you obtained in this cave abode, but also an ultimate skill. An ultimate skill? Night Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye and looked around, but he did not discover anything. At that moment, the male and female hammers of the restriction-breaking hammers said in unison, there's an array formation hiding it. Let's crack it. With that said, the male and female hammers of the restriction-breaking hammers began to crack a concealment array formation on the wall. After the array formation was cracked, Night Sorrow immediately saw an illustration of an ultimate skill on the wall and the words, for the fated one. It was signed by Yen. Yen? This is actually Yan's cave abode? When he saw that it was signed by Yen, Night Sorrow immediately became excited. He carefully observed the illustration on the wall. The name of this divine ability was Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. Night Sorrow took a few glances and understood it. This is a top-tier ultimate skill, not inferior to a divine ability at all. In fact, it's even stronger. However, this should be an ultimate skill for dragons. When fighting against other races, its power should be reduced. After learning the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, Knight Sorrow immediately understood that this was an ultimate skill for dragons. This was exactly what he needed the most at the moment. After all, he would enter the Sea of Evil in a few decades. When that time came, he would inevitably have to fight against the sea dragons. At that moment, the male hammer, who had just broken the seal on the wall, continued, "We can try to crack that calligraphy." Chapter 3179. Alright. Here's the copybook. Try to crack it and see if you can break the restriction. After the restriction-breaking hammer finished speaking, Yishang took out a scroll and handed it to them. After the pair of hammers tried it, the male hammer said, "We might be able to break it, but it'll be a long process. Let's go back to your grotto heaven and slowly crack it. Otherwise, it'll waste too much time." How long will it take? Knight Sorrow put the hammers and copybook away in his grotto heaven and asked. He would only enter the ocean of evil a few decades later. He hoped that the prohibition-breaking copper hammer would be able to break the forbidding aura before then. This way, he would be able to increase his bargaining chip. Hearing Knight Sorrow's question, the male hammer communicated with the female hammer and said, "I'm not sure about the exact time, but it shouldn't be more than 100 years. If we want to speed it up, we'll need the support of resources. If we have enough blackthorn crystals, we'll be able to crack it faster." "Alright. I have some blackthorn crystals here. You can use them. If it's not enough, I'll think of something else." Knight Sorrow gave the remaining blackthorn crystals to the hammers and checked the cave abode again. After checking carefully and finding nothing else, he left and returned to the barracks. After returning to the barracks, Knight Sorrow found the war demon waiting for him. He asked, "War demon, what's the matter?" "My lord, it's like this. My brothers haven't fought recently, so we're itching to fight. We want to find something to do. Can you take some missions from Lord Yunyi?" The war demon said. Ever since the incident with Sea Dragon Ao Lai, they hadn't gone out to fight. For the cultivators in the foggy area, it was a matter of life and death. Recently, the city lord's mansion hadn't issued any missions for the war demon, so he came to find Knight Sorrow. "Alright. I'll go find Brother Yunyi." After listening to the war demon, Knight Sorrow went to Yunye's residence. After exchanging some pleasantries, Knight Sorrow mentioned that his subordinates didn't have any missions to take on. Hearing this, Yunyi smiled and said, "There are still many things like missions. But I have to tell you something first. I feel very sorry that I didn't let you get any resources during the last mission. Therefore, I carefully investigated some things about you. I found out that you have a friend called Bai Mei. Is that so?" "Yes. Brother Yunyi, White Brow is my best friend." Hearing Yunyi mention Bai Mei Sanren, Knight Sorrow said affirmatively. Hearing this, Yunyi immediately frowned and said, "In the process of asking around, I found out that your friend's condition isn't very good. When he and his team were carrying out a mission, they encountered a strong enemy and lost contact with the entire team." "What? How could such a thing happen?" After Yunyi finished speaking, Knight Sorrow's expression immediately changed. He asked, "Brother Yunyi, what mission did they accept?" "The mission they accepted was to go to a valley to slaughter demons. Now that we have failed, if you have any ideas, you can bring your subordinates to accept it." After Yunyi finished speaking, he tried to persuade her. "But that valley is very strange. After that team's accident, it was very strange. Centurion Heichi went to search for him, but he didn't find any clues. Then all the more I have to go. I can't ignore my friend when something happens to him." After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, he asked, "Brother Yunyi, how do I accept that mission?" "The current mission has been taken back by the City Lord Mansion because it's too dangerous. You can only accept it from the City Lord. If you must accept it, I can help you. Yunyi said. Accept it. Of course I have to accept it. Night Sorrow said without hesitation. He didn't expect that Bai Mei Sanren would be in trouble while he was spending some time in the cave. All right. Wait here. I'll help you accept the mission. After Yunyi said this, he went to the City Lord Mansion to help Night Sorrow accept the mission. About an hour later, he would return. He handed the mission scroll to Night Sorrow and said, "This is the mission scroll. After you read it carefully, you can go to that valley. But I have a condition. You have to bring Xian Yi and my summoning stone. If there are any abnormalities, I will immediately bring over 100 cultivators and descend." Okay. Thank you very much, Brother Yunyi. Yunyi was very generous. After hearing what he said, Night Sorrow was very grateful. All right, go. Be careful. If there's any trouble, summon me immediately. Yunyi knew that Night Sorrow would immediately set off after returning to the barracks, so he instructed him. He felt that Night Sorrow was too prideful. He was afraid that he would fall into danger and be too embarrassed to summon him. The current mission had been taken back by the City Lord, which proved that it was very dangerous. It was impossible to do it with the strength of an Earth Sovereign. Don't worry, Brother Yunyi. Night Demon won't joke around with his life. If there's any situation, I'll summon you immediately. After saying this, Night Sorrow returned to the barracks to find the War Demon and the others and tell them about the mission. To his surprise, the War Demon and the others heard that the mission was very dangerous. Not only were they not afraid, but they were all very excited and eager to try. Seeing their reactions, Night Sorrow thought to himself, the cultivators in this foggy area are indeed different from those in the Eternal Supreme Realm. Although they are warlike and bloodthirsty, they are also fearless. That's not bad. Then, he said, since everyone is willing to go, let's set off immediately. The details are recorded in the mission scroll. Take a look for yourselves. Sir, I know the way to the Valley of Wrath. I'll lead the way. After reading the mission scroll, Jiao Mao immediately volunteered. Back then, he had almost been beaten to death by Night Sorrow, but now he was completely convinced. All right. Everyone must remember not to take risks in this mission. Because you may lose your life at any time. After saying this, Night Sorrow looked at the mission scroll again. He wanted to get some inspiration from it. According to the records on the mission scroll, this mission had already been accepted 3 times. However, each time, the cultivator who accepted the mission disappeared in the valley. The City Lord's mansion had sent the Centurion and other experts to the valley, but they couldn't find anything. This was obviously very strange. It should be that the target in the valley is no match for the Centurion, so he didn't appear when the Centurion came. There are no heavenly sovereigns in our team at all. I think that he will appear. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that there was no reason for the mission target not to appear. After arriving at the valley with the others, he floated in the void and observed with the sea serpent's eye. He wanted to find some clues. However, after looking for a while, he didn't find anything. Then, he led the others to land in the valley and carefully looked for clues. Chapter 3180. This valley occupied a very large area. It seemed to stretch for about 100,000 miles. The terrain was low and humid, and the ground was almost covered with moss. The black forest was also very lush, and the distance between the trees was very close. The branches and leaves of many trees were connected together. Night Sorrow had been standing in the void earlier, and he hadn't seen anything with the sea serpent's eye. However, when he walked into the forest in the valley, he immediately sensed a faint smell of blood. It was emitted by the black forest. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to look at the black ancient tree in front of him, but he couldn't see any trees. He ordered, "War Demon, bring some men and cut down this ancient tree in front of us. I can sense the smell of blood from it." This tree is very likely a man-eating tree that has absorbed the blood or flesh of cultivators. Yes, sir. War Demon heard this and immediately called 2 men. The 3 of them took out their divine weapons and cut at the black ancient tree in front of them. Clang! 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 After the 3 of them cut the ancient tree with their weapons, there was a clanging sound of metal. The 3 weapons only cut a little of the ancient tree's bark. This caused the War Demon to exclaim in astonishment, "This seemingly ordinary ancient tree is actually so sturdy. Its strength is at least comparable to a Middle Earthly sovereign. There must be something strange about it. Continue cutting. I want to see what will happen when we cut it down." Yi Shang continued to observe the surroundings as he gave the order once again. Yes, sir. After hearing Night Sorrow's order, War Demon and the other 2 men used their weapons again to cut down the ancient tree. Although the ancient tree in front of them was very sturdy, it was still cut down. After the black ancient tree fell to the ground, Night Sorrow went forward to take a look. He found that the tree's internal growth rings were actually flowing with black-red blood. It looked very strange. "Do you know the name of this ancient tree?" Night Sorrow, who was observing, asked. He didn't know the name of this ancient tree in the foggy area. When Jiao Mao heard this, he immediately said, "Sir, this seems to be a dragon blood tree. However, it looks a little different from an ordinary dragon blood tree. It should be a mutated one." Mutant dragon blood tree. Night Sorrow murmured and continued, "If I'm not wrong, the blood flowing in the mutated dragon blood tree should not be its own. It must have been absorbed from cultivators." "That is indeed possible." Hearing this, the War Devil agreed and continued, "This bloody aura should belong to a cultivator, a humanoid one at that. According to my judgment, this mutated dragon blood tree should be using its roots to absorb the blood essence of cultivators. If I'm not mistaken, there must be something down there." "Yes, your thoughts coincide with mine." Night Sorrow nodded in agreement and ordered, "Dig out the roots of this mutant dragon blood tree. Let's see what's going on. When you make a move, remember to be careful. If there wasn't any danger here, those people who received the mission wouldn't have gone missing." "Yes, milord." After saying that, the War Demon volunteered to dig up the roots of the dragon blood tree. However, the soil near the mutated dragon blood tree was very tough. It was very difficult for the War Demon to dig it up. Jiao Mao and the other 3 cultivators saw that the War Demon was having a hard time digging and immediately went over to help. The quality of this soil is also very unusual. Seeing that the War Demon and the rest were having a hard time digging, Night Sorrow suddenly had a bad premonition. He felt that there was definitely something difficult to deal with down in this valley. Therefore, he took Yin Yi and Xian Nian's summoning stone out of the space grotto heaven and held it in his hand. He thought to himself, "If something goes wrong, I'll call for help. Milord, this soil is too tough. At our current speed, we might not be able to dig out the roots of the mutated dragon blood tree in a month." After digging for about 2 hours, the War Demon said helplessly. The hardness of the surrounding soil was far beyond his imagination. It was very strenuous to dig it up. "You guys take a break. Let me do it." Night Sorrow also understood that the War Demon and the rest were unable to dig it up. He immediately asked them to step back. He took out the golden heavenly halberd and started digging. The golden heavenly halberd was now a true heavenly sovereign artifact. Using it to dig up the surrounding soil was like a treasured sword that could cut through iron like mud. "Milord, you're amazing. Using a heavenly sovereign artifact is simply amazing." Seeing that Night Sorrow's progress had exceeded their 2 hours of hard work in an instant, the War Demon and the rest were all amazed. The War Demon and the rest were so impressed that they prostrated themselves on the ground and praised him repeatedly. "Don't be careless. Release your god territories and be on guard." Night Sorrow, who was continuing to dig, reminded them with a frown. As the digging progressed, the bad premonition in his heart grew stronger and stronger. In the forest, there was a feeling that a storm was about to come. Yes, milord. The war demon and the rest could tell that Night Sorrow's tone was rather grave and immediately took it seriously. They released their god territories and prepared for battle. If danger appears later, immediately give up resisting and enter my space grotto heaven. As the digging progressed, Night Sorrow felt that something was amiss. In the end, he began to feel a sense of danger, as if he was being targeted by wild beasts. He knew that this was not an illusion. It was just that he could not pinpoint the location of his opponent. If it were not for the fact that he had to find Bai Mei Sanren and rescue him, he might have even given up on digging. I've dug up the roots. I've finally dug up the roots. Milord is amazing. Where does it connect to? After about 2 hours, Night Sorrow had successfully dug out the roots of the mutant dragon blood tree in front of him. What was even more surprising was, after Night Sorrow pulled out the roots of the mutant dragon blood tree from the soil, there was a red root that did not come out. Night Sorrow tried to pull it out, but it did not come out at all. Could this root be connected to somewhere underground, where it absorbs the cultivator's blood? The war demon, who had seen the situation in front of him, asked in surprise. Very likely. Everyone, be careful. I'm going to continue digging. After saying this, Night Sorrow summoned the restriction-breaking hammers and said, look carefully and see if there are any formations or traps down there. Wait a moment. The restriction-breaking hammers replied in unison and started to check. Then they said, I didn't see it when I was in the space grotto heaven just now. This valley is a formation that is suppressing a very powerful demonic creature. However, after a long time, the formation has loosened. Although the demonic creature has also been exhausted, it has not fallen. So it's a formation that contains a formation demonic creature. What level of demonic creature is it? Can you sense it? Hearing the restriction-breaking hammer's words, Night Sorrow immediately asked with a frown. He knew that whatever was being suppressed down there was definitely not simple. Chapter 3181. The formation in front of us might have come from a Supreme Realm expert. Therefore, I'm guessing that the demonic creature trapped here should be at the Supreme Realm or half a step to the Supreme Realm. However, it's very difficult to destroy, so it's trapped here. The male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer voiced his opinion. I don't think it's very likely to be at the Supreme Realm. After all, there are too few Supreme Realm experts. After the male hammer finished speaking, Night Sorrow frowned and said, but even if it's half a step to the Supreme Realm, we're definitely no match for it. I only hope that after being trapped for so many years, its strength has decreased a lot. It can't use much of its strength when it's trapped. To Night Sorrow, Bai Mei Sanren had to be saved no matter what. Therefore, he had no intention of escaping at all. Seeing that Night Sorrow was so determined, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer continued, if the demonic creature below is half a step to the Supreme Realm, it should be powerless under the suppression of a Supreme Realm expert's formation. It's a risk we can take. It's not necessarily a suicide mission. We definitely have to go down. But to be safe, let's call for help. After saying that, Night Sorrow summoned Yunyi and Xian Nian. He told them about the situation before them. So there's a demonic prison near Sea Dragon City. After hearing that, Yunyi immediately frowned. However, he did not summon all his subordinates. Instead, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, Brother Night Demon, it's very dangerous down there. It's not necessarily a good thing to bring some weak cultivators. How about this, you let your subordinates return to the City Lord Mansion, and the 3 of us go down. If something goes wrong, I can summon the City Lord. Alright, let's do that. Night Sorrow nodded and said. In fact, he had a guess in his heart at this moment. It was very likely that Yen Zai was unable to kill this monster when he was severely injured, and thus imprisoned it here. After all, Yen had appeared nearby and left behind a cave abode. Brother Night Demon, I'll go in front. You go in the middle. Brother Yunyi will bring up the rear. After starting to dig down, Xian Nian spoke. Naturally, this was to protect Night Sorrow. After all, Night Sorrow's cultivation level was the lowest among the three of them. Hearing this, while Night Sorrow was touched, he also reminded Xian Nian, "Brother Xian Nian, be careful too. Under normal circumstances, night demons can protect themselves." "All right. Then, I'll pay attention to the front." After Xian Nian finished speaking, he continued digging. Following the red roots of the mutated dragon blood tree, they dug all the way down. After Xian Nian Xian ofs, Xian Xian Xian, Xian Xian Xian. Xian 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 Xians, Xian Xian. Night Xian 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 Xian, Xian 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 Xian. Xian 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 Xian. This was because there were a large number of cultivators inside the formation. These red roots were all connected to the bodies of these cultivators and were constantly sucking their blood. It was enough to make one's scalp tingle. Xian Xuan Xian. The situation below was very chaotic. There were tens of thousands of cultivators, densely packed. Night Sorrow could not find Bai Mei Sanren at all. He was very nervous. He felt that it wasn't good for Bai Mei Sanren to be here either. If they were in here, they might still be alive, but they would have been sucked dry. "Brother Night Demon, what did you see?" Yin Yi immediately asked when he saw Night Sorrow's ugly expression. "I see tens of thousands of cultivators below, and they are all having their flesh and blood sucked out by these red roots." Night Sorrow frowned. "If my friend is down there, he must have suffered a lot. Your friend, Bai Mei, went missing not too long ago. Even if he's down there, he should be fine. After all, the speed at which these roots absorb flesh and blood is not fast." Xian Nian said. "Yes. Thank you for reminding me, Brother Xuannian. I was too involved to see the situation clearly." When Night Sorrow heard Xian Nian's words, his mood immediately improved. He felt that what Xian Nian said was indeed very reasonable. "Don't be so polite. But, what should we do next? Should we go down directly?" Xian Nian continued. The situation in front of them made even him feel uncomfortable. "We can't go down directly. The aura below makes me very uncomfortable. We have to report it to the city governor," Yin Yi said cautiously after observing for a while. The large formation below made him very nervous, and he did not dare to go down directly. "All right, it will be very dangerous for us to go down rashly. Let's report it to the city governor and let him handle it," Xian Nian said in agreement. At this time, Night Sorrow said, "We don't necessarily need the city governor to come over." "Oh? Why do you say that?" Yin Yi immediately asked when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Xian Nian also fixed his gaze on his face. Although it looks scary down there, the aura of a certain terrifying existence is not very strong. It's about the level of a middle heavenly supreme. After a careful observation, Night Sorrow sensed the demonic creature below. At this time, the demonic creature's aura was about that of a middle heavenly supreme. To the three of them, it was not very strong. Night Sorrow felt that they could fight it. A middle heavenly supreme? That should be nothing. We can fight it. But are you sure? Yin Yi asked with a frown. He was afraid that what Night Sorrow saw was not real. If it was very strong, it would have rushed out long ago. "Do you think you can still let us talk freely here?" After calming down, Night Sorrow understood many things and said with a smile. He continued, "Brothers, wait for me for a while. Let me set up a formation and we will go in. Let's kill that thing down there. This can be considered a good deed for Sea Dragon City. If we don't kill it, who knows how many people will suffer. If there's anything you need our help with, just let us know. Also, I will take advantage of this time to set up a teleportation formation. If the situation is not good, we will directly teleport back to the station." Yin Yi said and set up a teleportation formation underground. Night Sorrow set up a concealment formation and a 5 bulls formation nearby. The Five Bulls formation was hidden in a concealment formation, and its range was limited. It could not cover the large formation below. The meaning of its existence was to lure the existence below in when it was no match for it, and then kill it. Brothers, I've finished setting it up. What about you? After setting it up, Night Sorrow looked at Yunyi and Xian Nian. At this time, Yunyi had already set up a teleportation formation. Xian Nian, on the other hand, was preparing something, looking very mysterious. After Night Sorrow spoke, Yunyi said, "Wait a moment. We still need to wait for Xian Nian." Why is there a strange smell around us? Brothers, be careful. At this moment, Night Sorrow noticed that the smell around them had changed, and he immediately reminded them. Chapter 3182. Smell? Why didn't I notice it? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yunyi immediately frowned and sensed, but he didn't find anything. Xian Nian sensed for a moment and said, "There seems to be a strange smell. It's very similar to the smell of blood, but it's definitely not. It's like the smell of some demonic creature." Yes. It seems to be the smell of a demonic creature. This smell is getting stronger. Not good, the main target has appeared. Let's hurry up and attack. Follow me. Night Sorrow said and looked inside the array. At this moment, below the cultivators whose flesh and blood were being absorbed, there was a black and red tree that was growing crazily. As he spoke, it grew from 1 foot tall to 100 feet tall. At this moment, Night Sorrow said and waved his golden heavenly halberd, directly shooting an improved version of the divine spear at the demonic tree. When this move was shot out, it immediately shot out a black ray of light that went straight for the demonic tree's trunk. There's a path to immortality, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell. In the face of Night Sorrow's attack, the demonic tree roared coldly and stretched out countless branches, slapping at Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd. At the same time, the roots that had absorbed the blood essence of the cultivators were all pulled out from their bodies and attacked Night Sorrow and the others. There were so many of those blood-colored roots that it was impossible to count them all. After moving, the surrounding void was completely sealed off. At this moment, Xian Nian shouted, "Brother Yun, Brother Yi, the two of you fight with the main target. I'll be in charge of dealing with these blood-colored roots. Brother Xian Nian, you have to be careful." With these words, Yunyi took out a sword and a brush from his spatial dharma tool. First, he cut his palm with the sword, then he dipped the brush in some blood and used the brush to write the word "kill" in the void. After the word "kill" appeared, it suddenly grew larger and eventually became about the same size as the demonic tree. Then, it suddenly attacked. Haha. Brother Yun, I didn't expect you to use your trump card as soon as the battle started. Xian Nian, who was fighting against the red rhizomes, smiled when he saw Yunyi use his soul-breaking brush. The aura of the demonic tree before us is constantly growing stronger. We have to act swiftly and decisively. There's no need for us to hold back. The word "kill" that Yunyi wrote struck the demonic tree and immediately caused a huge tremor. It caused the entire demonic tree to shake violently. Countless branches and leaves fell off. This was much more powerful than Night Sorrow's godly shot. What a powerful absolute art. Night Sorrow was amazed by Yunyi's technique. At this moment, he finally understood why Yunyi always liked to stay in the study. It turned out that writing was his ability to kill. Woo. After being hit by Yunyi, the demonic tree immediately let out a beast-like roar. Then, he spoke again in human language, "You ants, if I were the primordial demonic tree at my peak state, I would have been dead by now. I only need 3 leaves to kill all of you. Die." After roaring, he once again used the sky full of branches and leaves to attack Night Sorrow and Yunyi crazily. Those blood-colored roots attacked Xian Nian in an incomparably frenzied manner. Unfortunately, you are no longer the same person as before. Now, you are at most an intermediate heavenly supreme. Night Sorrow, who was observing the primordial demonic tree with the sea serpent's eye, said coldly. Then, he used the golden heavenly halberd and used the mysterious azure godly spear technique. He knew that there was a gap between his strength and the primordial demonic trees, so he used a more powerful technique right from the start. It won't be easy to kill the two of them, but I, the primordial demonic tree, can easily kill an ant like you. After being mocked by Night Sorrow, the primordial demonic tree was immediately enraged. Suddenly, a blood-colored root extended from the ground and attacked him. Brother Night Demon, you're in danger. Seeing this scene, Yunyi immediately warned him. He could feel how powerful this root was. Don't worry. I won't be killed so easily. Brother Yunyi, take care of yourself. After replying to Yunyi, Night Sorrow immediately activated the Treastrimsa Battle Mystic technique and the Green Phoenix battle armor. He fought with the root that was like a red python. At the same time, he fought against the crazily attacking branches and leaves. It was basically a stalemate. Brother Night Demon, good technique. Yunyi saw Night Sorrow use such a technique to enter a stalemate with the primordial demonic tree's root. He roared and wrote the word seal again. Once this word was written, the primordial demonic tree's attack speed slowed down significantly. Brother Yunyi, this is a good technique. Night Sorrow knew that the primordial demonic tree's actions were affected by Yunyi's word seal. After praising him, he knew that this was a good opportunity. Then, he attacked the primordial demonic tree crazily. Not only did he cut off the root, but he also attacked the primordial demonic tree's trunk. Clang! 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 Night Sorrow used the golden heavenly halberd and attacked 3 consecutive times with the godly spear technique. However, he could not pierce through the primordial demonic tree's trunk. Moreover, he could not even damage the bark of the trunk. He immediately roared, Brother Yunyi, this primordial demonic tree's branch is at least a half step to the paramount realm. I can't break through its defense. Help me restrain it from above. I'll go underground and attack its root from below. Judging from the blood-colored root just now, Night Sorrow felt that he could almost cut off all of the primordial demonic tree's roots. Another point was that when he went underground, in a place where the two of them could not reach, he could use the power of merit. That way, his strength would increase by a lot. All right. Take care of yourself. I'll be in charge of restraining it. Through the battle just now, Yunyi had a whole new level of respect for Night Sorrow. He treated him as a cultivator who was about the same strength as him. With a roar, he wrote the word split again. Suddenly, he attacked the primordial demonic tree. This word split caused many of the primordial demonic tree's branches to explode in the void. However, Yunyi's face also turned pale because he had used up too much energy. Humph. Let's see how long your attack that consumes blood essence can last. If not for the remnant array formation suppressing it, I would have trapped all of you as food long ago. To the primordial demonic tree, Yunyi was clearly the greatest threat. After Night Sorrow went underground, he attacked Yunyi crazily. If I were a paramount realm expert, killing you would be as easy as slaughtering a chicken. What's the use of saying if? Upon hearing the primordial demonic tree's words, Yunyi immediately mocked back. At the same time, he struggled to write the word freeze with his pale face. The moment the word freeze was written, Yunyi's expression turned even worse. However, this word was clearly more effective than the seal word. When it hit the primordial demonic tree, it immediately slowed down its movements. The attack was basically in slow motion. Night Sorrow, who had gone underground to fight against the countless blood-colored roots, was initially having a hard time. Now that the primordial demonic tree's speed had slowed down, it was much easier for him and he continuously cut off many roots. Chapter 3183. What's going on? It's recovering so quickly. However, not long after Night Sorrow cut off the roots, they began to recover by themselves and quickly recovered to their original state. The recovery speed was so fast that it made one's hair stand on end. If the ancient demon tree could maintain this recovery speed, no matter how he cut it, it would not have any effect. This ancient demon tree's recovery ability should still be at the level of a half step to the supreme realm. If you don't think of a way, you can't rely on random cuts. While Night Sorrow was thinking, Little Seven reminded him. Yes. I understand. Night Sorrow replied. While thinking, he sent a voice transmission to Yunyi. Brother Yunyi, how long can you last? Although I'm not the ancient demon tree's match, I should be able to resist it for another hour. As for Xian Nian, he shouldn't be under too much pressure. Yunyi immediately replied after receiving Night Sorrow's voice transmission. At this moment, his face was very pale, which was caused by too much blood essence consumption. After replying to Night Sorrow, he once again fought with the ancient demon tree. As the strongest person, Yunyi was naturally in charge of restraining the ancient demon tree. Good. Then I understand. After Night Sorrow replied to Yunyi, he thought to himself, it seems that I have to greatly damage the ancient demon tree's vitality within an hour. Then I'll use the power of merit. I hope it's effective on the ancient demon tree. With that in mind, Night Sorrow immediately added the power of merit into his attacks. This power of merit was enveloped by a black aura and was almost unrecognizable. This time, after the ancient demon tree's roots were cut off, they continued to recover. However, the recovery speed was more than 100 times slower. It could no longer keep up with the speed of Night Sorrow's slashing. Discovering this situation, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "Very good. When I cut off all its roots, its strength will definitely be greatly reduced." Of course. However, I don't think the ancient demon tree will let you succeed so easily. Seeing that Night Sorrow's attack was effective, Little Seven immediately reminded him. At this time, Night Sorrow said, "I know. However, since the ancient demonic tree had diverted some of its attention to deal with me, the pressure on the other two would be greatly reduced. This was a good thing. After all, we still have strength to spare." After that, as Night Sorrow continued to cut off its roots, the ancient demon tree began to fight and its strength was greatly reduced. At this time, he was completely enraged by Night Sorrow below. He controlled the root at the center and attacked Night Sorrow. This root looked like a black and red python. When they attacked from the ground, they caused the ground to shake. Night Sorrow, this is the core of the ancient devil tree. As long as we cut it down, even if the ancient devil tree doesn't die, it will be completely crippled. Upon seeing the ancient demonic tree's main root attack, Little Seven immediately warned. "I got it." Night Sorrow replied. He held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand and fought with the root that was waving non-stop on the ground. This root was not very fast, but its strength was clearly half a step to the supreme realm. Night Sorrow attacked it a few times but did not have any effect at all. He immediately said, "This ancient demonic tree's core is half a step to the supreme realm. I can't hurt it." At this time, Little Seven reminded him, "Why don't we use the ancient coffin? Let's see if the ancient coffin can withstand the attack of half a step to the supreme realm." "All right. However, I don't want to cause too much of a commotion and expose the ancient coffin," Night Sorrow said as he fought against the root. Speaking of which, the ancient coffin was his life-saving trump card. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not want to expose it. "In my opinion, if you don't use it now, your lives will all be lost here. This is your life-saving trump card. If you can't even protect your life, what's the point of it existing?" When Little Seven heard Night Sorrow's words, he immediately tried to persuade him. "Do you think we will die here if we don't use the ancient coffin?" After Little Seven finished speaking, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice. At this point in the battle, he did not feel any danger at all. He was very surprised by Little Seven's words. "Yes. If you don't use the ancient coffin quickly, all three of you will die. This ancient demonic tree has been diverting his energy during the battle and trying to break the array formation. He is almost succeeding now. As long as he completely breaks the array formation that is suppressing him, he should be able to recover the strength of half a step to the Supreme Realm. All of you are definitely not his match. Little Seven said solemnly. Oh. He's breaking the array formation? Night Sorrow had been immersed in the battle earlier on and did not notice that the ancient demonic tree was breaking the array formation. The array formation in front of them did not suppress the three of them at all, but it suppressed the ancient demonic tree severely. If it was broken, the three of them would really be in danger. Yes. The restriction breaking hammer, and I just found out about this. So you'd better hurry. Little Seven continued. He, Little Five, Little Nine, and the restriction breaking hammer were linked to Night Sorrow for good or ill. During the battle, although they did not contribute much, they would carefully observe and remind him of some things. Don't worry. I won't be sloppy. Night Sorrow had always been a decisive person when it came to fighting. He discovered that the ancient demonic tree was secretly breaking the array formation. He did not hesitate and immediately took out the ancient coffin. When the ancient demonic tree's roots swept over, he suddenly blocked the ancient coffin in front of him. Boom! The core roots of the ancient demonic tree bombarded the outer layer of the ancient coffin but did not even break through the defense of the dark aura. It was directly broken by the impact. After the core roots broke, the ancient demonic tree let out an extremely painful roar. Then it directly uprooted itself from the ground and flew up with all the roots. Uprooted? What happened down there? Yun Yi, who was fighting against the ancient demonic tree above, was shocked. He had felt the huge tremor just now, but because he was too focused on the battle, he only felt an extremely dark aura surging from below. He did not know about the ancient coffin at all. I'm not sure. Let's ask Night Demon. Xian Mian, who was still cutting the thousands of red roots, said. He also did not know what Night Sorrow had done down there, but he was very shocked. Because he knew that if Night Sorrow had not done something terrible down there, the ancient demonic tree would not have flown out so crazily. Brother Night Demon, what did you do down there? Why did the ancient demonic tree fly out? Yin Yi immediately asked after Xian Nian finished speaking. I chopped off his core root, greatly reducing his strength. He should have fled first. Let's stop it together. As he replied, he suddenly broke out of the ground and chased after the ancient demonic tree. As for the ancient demonic tree that flew out of the ground, its body shrunk a lot and became a cultivator about the same height as Night Sorrow and the others. He looked coldly at Night Sorrow and said, Are you really going to kill all of us? Chapter 3184. I'm ruthless to you. You're the one who's heartless, aren't you? You've harmed so many cultivators. No matter how you die, you won't be able to pay for it. Night Sorrow said coldly when he saw the ancient demon tree transform into a cultivator. During the battle just now, although they tried their best to control it, many cultivators who had their blood essence sucked died immediately. This made him very worried about Bai Mei Sanren. He was afraid that he would also die because of this. He naturally did not want to let go of the ancient demon tree, the culprit. He was prepared to kill it quickly and then look for Bai Mei Sanren. Ha ha ha. You want me to pay with my life? Do you think you can do it with that thing in your hand? I'm not afraid to tell you that I, the ancient demon tree, am immortal. Otherwise, that Supreme Realm expert would have killed me long ago and not imprisoned me here. The ancient demonic tree laughed loudly. I feel that there's a trace of resentment in his laughter. If I'm not wrong, Night Sorrow, what you did just now completely cut off his chance to advance to the Supreme Realm. Little Seven, who was in the grotto heaven, immediately transmitted his voice when he heard the ancient demon tree's laughter. He could hear the grief and anger in the ancient demon tree's voice. I can hear it too. If I'm not wrong, he might be doing something crazy. Night Sorrow, who replied to Little Seven, had an ominous premonition. He felt that the ancient demon tree might be preparing some big move. After transmitting his voice to Little Seven, he transmitted his voice to Yun Yi and Xian Nian, asking them to attack immediately. Then, the three of them used their ultimate skills at the same time and attacked the ancient demon tree who had transformed into a human. If not for that Supreme Realm expert who used the array to suppress me to this extent, how could you ants be my match? Seeing Night Sorrow and the rest attacking him together, the ancient demon tree, who had transformed into a human, revealed a maniacal smile. Anyway, I no longer have the chance to advance to the Supreme Realm. Why don't I perish together with you here? The ancient demon tree didn't give Night Sorrow and the others a chance to react. It immediately exploded in the void. Although his cultivation base was being suppressed by the array, his body was basically at the level of a half-step to the Supreme Realm. The power of his self-destruction was extremely terrifying. In that instant, Yun Yi and Xian Nian's pupils contracted. They felt that this time, everyone would die here. All of you, back off. At this moment, Night Sorrow roared and took out the ancient coffin again, blocking the three of them. The ancient demon tree's self-destruction had originally spread out in all directions. However, when Night Sorrow took out the ancient coffin, it actually sucked in all the attacks. What kind of artifact is this? So powerful? Yun Yi and Xian Nian, who were standing behind Night Sorrow, saw that the ancient coffin that Night Sorrow had taken out had directly absorbed the ancient demonic tree's self-destruction. Immediately, he was shocked. After a long while, Yun Yi finally reacted and said, "Brother Night Demon, it's all thanks to your secret treasure this time. Otherwise, all of us would have perished here. Both of us owe you our lives." Yes. For a moment just now, I thought that I would completely die. In my mind, many years of cultivation memories flashed through some of my mind. I even recalled some of my dusty memories from the Eternal Supreme Realm. Xian Nian also said, "Oh, Eternal Supreme Realm? Brother Xian Nian, did you come from there?" Night Sorrow asked in a puzzled tone, changing the topic of the ancient coffin. Yes. I had already forgotten about it. Now I remember it again. I'll tell you too, you must remember to keep it a secret for me. Xian Nian said and then told them some of his things in the Eternal Supreme Realm. What's there to say? Didn't we all come from the Eternal Supreme Realm? After listening to Xian Nian, Yun Yi laughed. In fact, the two of them had been plundered into the fog by Mia's subordinates, and some of their memories had been erased. But in the process of cultivation for many years, they had already remembered the Eternal Supreme Realm and knew where they came from. It was just that the surrounding cultivators were used to living in the fog. And they knew that the Eternal Supreme Realm was a taboo topic, so they did not dare to mention it at all. At this time, Xian Nian's words reminded Yun Yi of some memories. Forget it. No matter what happened in the past, we are already cultivators in the fog. There's no need to mention it. Xian Nian sighed and then said, "By the way, Brother Yun, let's make a heavenly oath about Brother Night Demon's ancient coffin. I promise not to leak it out. Only an oath is the most reliable. It's meaningless to make empty promises. Okay. Everyone has something to save their lives. I, Yun Yi, swear that I will never leak out Brother Night Demon's ancient coffin. Otherwise, I will die without a burial place." When Yun Yi heard Xian Nian's words, he immediately swore. Needless to say, Xian Nian swore an even more serious heavenly oath. Then, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Brother Night Demon, you have saved me twice. If you need any help in the future, just ask. Whether I can do it or not, I will do my best to help." "Thank you, Brother Xian Nian," Night Sorrow said with a smile. He did not say what he wanted to do. After all, he wanted to go to the Sea of Evil and snatch Little Eight back. This matter could not be casually revealed. "You don't have to be polite with me in the future," Xian Nian said with a smile. "Me too. If you need anything, just ask." Yun Yi also promised and then continued, "Didn't you say that you came here to look for a friend called by Mei? Now that the ancient demonic tree is dead, hurry up and search. I'm already using my spiritual strength to search. At this time, Knight Sorrow was already using his spiritual strength to search for his target in the array. However, when he scanned the thousands of cultivators on the ground one by one, he did not find Bai Mei Sanren at all. Therefore, he penetrated the ground with his spiritual strength and continued to search. Finally, following the broken roots of the ancient demonic tree, he successfully found the missing Bai Mei Sanren even deeper underground. Brother, I've finally found you. In a narrow space, he found Bai Mei Sanren and a few others. Knight Sorrow sighed. At this time, Bai Mei Sanren's face was even paler than Yun Ye's after the battle. Brother Yi, I thought that I would die here this time. I didn't expect that I would be saved by you again. I won't say any words of gratitude. Let's face the difficulties in the future together. Although Bai Mei Sanren did not have much strength left, he still said these words firmly. Brother, don't mention it. I'll bring you all back. Knight Sorrow said and brought the few cultivators who were still alive up to the surface. Then, he gave them some pills to help them recover. At this time, Bai Mei Sanren said, Brother Knight Sorrow, this monster has dealt with many cultivators over the years. He doesn't need any resources, so I guess there must be a place to hide treasures nearby. Why don't you search carefully? Chapter 3185. If this ancient demon tree wants to increase its strength, it can rely on absorbing cultivators' blood essence. Resources are useless to it. Since they are useless, it will not collect them. But divine weapons and secret treasures are still useful to it. It should collect some. When Knight Sorrow heard Bai Mei Sanren's words, he felt enlightened. After speaking to Yun Yi and Xian Nian, he began to look around to see if he could find any secret treasures or divine weapons. After searching for a while, he really did find a small treasure trove underground. There were many divine weapons of cultivators in this treasure vault, but 99% of them were earthly supremes. Only 2 of them were heavenly supremes. Although these 2 heavenly supremes had been casually thrown into the treasure vault, they did not lose their edge. One of them was the 1-meter sword. It shone with a cold light and looked very murderous. The other was a cauldron. This cauldron was also heavenly supremes, but its aura was much stronger than the 1-meter sword. It was not ordinary at all. What a great cauldron! When the 3 of them found the cauldron, Yun Yi immediately praised it. Then he said, but I don't know how to refine weapons. If one of you is good at refining weapons, you can take it. I don't know how to refine weapons either. At our level, we don't need to refine weapons. Divine weapons can absorb resources on their own. If Brother Knight Demon is interested in this, you can take it. Xian Nian had no intention of taking it. He usually did not refine weapons and did not know how to control such things in battle. Hearing their words, Knight Sorrow smiled and said, I used to like refining weapons. I even relied on refining weapons to earn resources. But it has been many years since I used a cauldron to refine weapons. Since you are proficient in this, take it. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Yun Yi and Xian Nian spoke at the same time. Then I will take it as anything. Let's see if I can refine weapons with it and improve the quality of weapons. Knight Sorrow did not think much of it and kept the cauldron in front of him in his space grotto heaven. After keeping it, he tried to communicate with the bronze cauldron and confirmed that it did not have an artifact spirit. After observing the cauldron for a while, he realized that there were 9 dragons on the outside of the cauldron. This reminded Knight Sorrow of the 8 dragons cauldron. He immediately named it the 9-dragon cauldron. 9-dragon cauldron, not a bad name. After Knight Sorrow named it the 9-dragon cauldron, Bai Mei Sanren said with a smile. At this moment, he was startled and said, I suddenly remembered that Lord Yan's cauldron was called the 9 dragons cauldron. It can't be the one in your hand, right? Even if Senior Yan's cauldron isn't a supreme class divine artifact, it should be at least a half-step supreme class divine artifact, right? This 9-dragon cauldron is clearly only at the level of a heavenly supreme. After Bai Mei Sanren finished speaking, Night Sorrow made his own judgment. You're right. However, I still feel that this is not a coincidence. Do you think this cauldron is temporarily covered in dust and will recover to an extremely high grade in the future? Bai Mei Sanren guessed as he sized up the 9-dragon cauldron. Perhaps. After hearing Bai Mei Sanren's words, Night Sorrow used the power of his divine spirit to carefully sense the 9-dragon cauldron. However, he did not discover anything, so he did not dwell on this topic. After that, he, Yin Yi, and Xuanyan cleaned up the battlefield and collected all the items in the treasure trove. As for the cultivators whose blood essence was constantly being absorbed by the ancient demonic tree, only Bai Mei Sanren and the other new cultivators whose blood essence was being absorbed did not consume too much and could be saved. The others were basically only left with one life, and it was difficult to save them. The 3 of them decided to leave this mess to the city lord and did not follow up. After returning to the city lord's residence, Night Sorrow returned Centurion Hei Chi's men and asked Bai Mei Sanren to be his subordinate. He let him cultivate with the war demon and the others and complete missions. Knowing that Bai Mei Sanren was Night Sorrow's friend, the war demon and the others took great care of him. As for Night Sorrow, he chose to go into seclusion. While he was studying the calligraphy with the restriction-breaking hammer, he was studying the 9-dragon cauldron and constantly using it to refine weapons. He wanted to use it to improve the quality of the golden heavenly halberd. After more than 20 years of research, he really succeeded in improving the golden heavenly halberd by refining it again. He wanted the golden heavenly halberd to become a supreme-grade heavenly supreme divine weapon. However, in order to deceive others, he had refined the golden heavenly halberd into a greenish-black color. It no longer had a resplendent golden appearance, and the light around it was much dimmer and more reserved. When Night Sorrow came out of seclusion, there were only a dozen years left before the city lord of Sea Dragon City would head to the Sea of Evil. In the previous few battles, most of the cultivators of Sea Dragon City were no match for Sea Dragon. While the casualties were serious, they also embarrassed the city lord of Sea Dragon City. This made him feel suffocated. He had already used a lot of money to recruit some geniuses who could fight across realms. Among them, there were even people from Lu Tian Academy. As for the remaining spots, the city lord of Sea Dragon City was prepared to find them from his own team. Therefore, he gave the order to Yun Yi and the other centurions. Every centurion's team had to provide at least 2 spots. Night Sorrow had just come out of seclusion when Yin Yi came to him and told him about this matter. He wanted him to fight. No problem, I can fight, Yin Yi said. Night Sorrow did not choose to reject. That's great. As for the other spot, I'm still having a headache. Those sea dragons are incomparably ferocious and powerful. It's very difficult to deal with them. No one wants to fight. After Night Sorrow agreed, Yin Yi said with a headache. Although the cultivators under him were quite strong, none of them stood out from the rest. At this time, no one dared to step forward. If there's really no one, why don't I help Brother Yun find one? Night Sorrow immediately said when he heard that. Oh. Brother Night Demon, do you have a suitable candidate? Yin Yi was instantly energized when he heard that. To be honest, Night Demon just entered Lu Tian Academy a few years ago. I still have some acquaintances there. If you give me some resources, I should be able to invite them, Night Sorrow said truthfully. This was the first time he had revealed his identity from Lu Tian Academy. Oh. So Brother Night Demon is a genius from Lu Tian Academy. No wonder you can fight with a heavenly sovereign with the cultivation of a middle earthly sovereign. If you can invite a genius from Lu Tian Academy, that would be great. Yin Yi said, then continued, as for how much resources you have to pay, I'll bear it. The city lord spent a lot of resources to invite that genius from Lu Tian Academy. I know that. No need. Just leave this matter to me, it'll be fine. After all, we're friends. That person probably won't ask for too much from me. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he looked at Yun Yi and said, Brother Yun Yi, there's no time to lose. I'll return to Lu Tian Academy immediately to invite that person. Help me take care of that friend of mine. At the very least, don't let him die during the mission. Chapter 3186. Don't worry, Brother Night Demon. Your friend is my friend. As long as I'm here, I won't let anything happen to him. After learning that Yi Shang was from Lu Tian Academy, Yunyi paid more attention to him, so he vowed solemnly. With Brother Yunye's promise, I'm relieved. It's better to do this sooner rather than later. I'll set off immediately. Night Sorrow was about to leave Yunye's residence and head to Killer Heaven Academy to invite someone. The person he was going to invite was Dancing Lady. Both of them had the intention to work together, so it shouldn't be too difficult to invite her now. Brother Night Demon, there's no need to rush this. Tonight, the city governor will invite guests to a banquet at the city governor's residence. You, me, and Brother Xian Nian, let's go together. You've been here for so long. It's time for you to meet the city governor and get familiar with him. If anything happens in the Sea of Evil in the future, I'll ask him to take care of you. At this moment, Yunyi spoke. The city governor was mainly inviting the geniuses that he had spent a lot of money to invite. Yunyi and the rest were in charge of accompanying them. That works too. We'll attend the city governor's banquet tonight. After the banquet, I'll return to Killer Heaven Academy. Night Sorrow nodded when he heard Yunye's words. To him, the city governor's relationship was dispensable. However, such banquets usually involved battles. He felt that if Yunyi was provoked, he could help him fight and regain some face. All right. You can stay with me for now. We'll go to the city governor's residence tonight. After saying this, Yunyi invited Yi Shang into the study. The two of them began to discuss matters related to cultivation. After talking for a while, Yunyi suddenly asked, Brother Night Demon, are you interested in words? Words? Night Sorrow looked at him in confusion. Yes. Words. If you're interested, I can teach you my 100-word mantra. It should improve your strength to a certain extent. Yunyi enunciated each word clearly. The 100-word mantra was his most powerful technique. It was on par with superpower. Night Sorrow said in surprise, Brother Yunyi, that's too precious. You can't learn it. Ha ha ha. There was nothing that couldn't be learned. You, Xian Nian, and I are already friends with our lives. Sharing some absolute arts with each other was nothing. Moreover, when you become stronger, I will also benefit from it. Yunyi said with a smile and continued, to tell you the truth, I taught Xian Nian this ultimate technique. But he didn't have the talent, so he couldn't grasp it at all. I've studied the 100-word mantra for so many years, but I've only learned how to use 11 words. He felt that he had wasted this inheritance. If you can master this technique better than me, then it can be considered as an explanation to my master. Yunyi had thought of imparting the 100-word mantra to Night Sorrow when he had found out that Night Sorrow had come from the Killer Heaven Academy. At this moment, he finally said it out loud. I didn't expect there to be such a righteous person in the misty area. Night Sorrow was touched by Yunye's words. According to his understanding, the cultivators in the fog were all bloodthirsty and evil. However, after interacting with Yunyi for a period of time, she found that he had a good character. Xian Nian was not bad either. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow said, I understand Brother Yunye's good intentions, and I do want to learn it. But I can't learn it for free. I'll also teach you an absolute art. Yunyi was very righteous in this matter, and Night Sorrow felt that he could not take advantage of him. After thinking for a while, he felt that he should return the favor. Brother Night Demon, you don't have to be so polite with me. There's no need to be so polite between us. Yunyi immediately laughed when he heard Night Sorrow's words. He and Xian Nian had become close friends because they had similar temperaments. In this cold misty area, some feelings were more or less important. Now, he realized that the Night Sorrow in front of him also cared about feelings, and he felt more and more familiar with him. That's that. You can't let me enjoy all the benefits alone. Night Sorrow said, then said, Brother Yunyi, I'll teach you an absolute art now. It's called Azure Sea Tide. With that, Night Sorrow imparted the Azure Territory's divine ability, Azure Sea Tide. Then, he said, I got this in the Eternal Supreme Realm. Brother Yunyi, you should be able to master it if you study it well. This is not a dual I absolute art. This is the territory divine ability of the Eternal Supreme Realm. This kind of thing is very precious. After learning the Azure Sea Tide, Yunye's eyes widened. He had never expected that Night Sorrow would teach him a divine ability directly. One had to know that although most people in the Misty area came from the Eternal Supreme Realm, they had mastered very few divine abilities. In total, there should be no more than 100 divine abilities. Therefore, this divine ability was extremely precious. Is this called a divine ability? After Yunyi finished speaking, Night Sorrow pretended to be puzzled and asked. In fact, how could he not know about divine abilities? Yes. This is called a divine ability, and it's the most precious thing in the Eternal Supreme Realm. In the Misty area, its value is even higher. Yunyi said excitedly. Then, he took out a scroll from the space grotto heaven. He handed it to Night Sorrow and said, This is the scroll left behind by my master. The 100-word mantra is recorded in it. You can comprehend it yourself. If you follow my path, I'm afraid you can only comprehend a dozen words. Thank you, Brother Yunyi. After all, he had given away the divine ability, so Night Sorrow had no qualms about accepting this scroll. Then, he asked, Brother Yunyi, is there a cultivation room in your mansion? Anyway, there's still time. I want to study this scroll. Of course, I'll take you underground. Yunyi immediately took Night Sorrow out of the study and went to the underground cultivation room in the mansion. After entering the cultivation room, Yunyi looked at Night Sorrow and said, I'm a little short on money, so I only have a cultivation room with twice the time acceleration. You can make do with it. Time acceleration? That's already very good. When Night Sorrow heard this, he calculated and confirmed that he had about 12 to 16 hours to cultivate. Immediately, he felt very satisfied. Then you can cultivate here by yourself. I'll go out and study the Azure Sea. After saying this, Yunyi immediately went into the cultivation room. Night Sorrow unfolded the scroll that Yunyi had given him, laid it flat on the ground, and began to read it. When he first read it, he felt that the words in front of him did not seem to have any charm, and there was no explanation in it. He was not sure what to do. Therefore, he opened the sea serpent's eye and observed carefully. 4 hours passed just like that. At this moment, Yishan suddenly discovered that one of the characters was actually moving on its own. It turned into the appearance of a cultivator in the void and used an ice attribute attack. No matter what, we're the masters of Sea Dragon City. We can't let our guests wait. Good. Brother Yunyi, please lead the way. Night Sorrow nodded and followed behind Yunyi with Xian Nian. In private, the three of them were friends, but in the eyes of outsiders, Xian Nian was Yunye's deputy, and Night Sorrow was his decurion. The city lord's mansion is right in front. Let me tell you a secret. The city lord is a man with a story. His name in the outside world is fake, and no one knows his real name. You can just call him the city lord. Yunyi told Night Sorrow and Xian Nian as they approached the core of the city lord's mansion. Xian Nian was not too surprised, but Night Sorrow had heard of the city lord's story for the first time. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Yunyi. What story does the city lord have? Centurions like us don't know either. Also, you have to understand that although the city lord is an upper heavenly sovereign, he's extremely powerful. He's definitely not someone we can compare to, so we can't offend him. Yunyi said after thinking for a while. Although the city lord was only a small level higher than him, his strength was unfathomable. Yunyi was usually very afraid of him. Could it be that the city lord is not an upper heavenly sovereign, but a half-step to supreme realm expert? Xian Nian asked curiously. Logically speaking, an ordinary upper heavenly sovereign should not be able to give Yunyi so much pressure, so he was more curious. It's not impossible. It could also be that the city lord was once a half-step to supreme realm expert, but later experienced something that caused his cultivation to drop to upper heavenly sovereign. Yunyi analyzed and continued, the city lord's means are heaven-defying, so let's not talk about it anymore. As they spoke, the three of them arrived at the core of the city lord's mansion. The courtyard where the city lord of Sea Dragon City lived. Standing outside the courtyard, Night Sorrow looked inside and realized that the place where the city lord lived looked somewhat familiar. It looked a little like the city lord's mansion in the realm of the gods. He was very surprised. He thought to himself, could it be that the city lord of Sea Dragon City was from the realm of the gods before he was corroded by the fog? He likes buildings like the realm of the gods, so he built it here. Let's go in. Just as Yi Shang was puzzled, Yunyi suddenly said, don't worry. He had just greeted the city lord of Sea Dragon City through the voice transmission stone. Okay, let's go. Night Sorrow responded and followed behind Yunyi. They landed on the ground and walked into the courtyard. As they walked slowly, the more Night Sorrow looked at it, the more it looked like the city of the gods, and the doubts in his heart grew. He felt more and more that the city lord of Sea Dragon City might be related to the city of the gods. Brother Night Demon, why are you a little absent-minded? As they walked in, Xian Nian, who was standing beside Night Sorrow, asked. It's nothing. It's just that these pavilions are very similar to the hometown in my memory. But it's very vague. Night Sorrow casually found an excuse and continued to walk in with Yunyi and Xian Nian. When they arrived, they found that some of the experts invited by the city lord of Sea Dragon City had already arrived. One of them was fighting with Centurion He Qi. This person was a lower heavenly sovereign, but he had been suppressing Centurion He Qi, who was a middle heavenly sovereign. Night Sorrow glanced at him and felt that his aura was somewhat familiar, but he had never met him before. He thought to himself, this person should be the expert that the city lord of Sea Dragon City invited from Lu Tian Academy, right? Looks like he should be considered a mediocre person in Lu Tian Academy. Although the person in front of him could fight beyond his level, in Night Sorrow's opinion, he was much weaker than Lin Dongqing, who was also a lower heavenly sovereign. Lin Dongqing was only a student from the previous batch, so Night Sorrow judged that the person in front of him, no matter which batch he was from, should be a mediocre one. The city lord is watching with interest. Let's not go up to greet him for now. Let's wait until the battle is over. At this moment, Yunyi spoke to the two of them and led them to a small table beside the city lord. They watched the battle together. Night Sorrow secretly glanced at the city lord of Sea Dragon City. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.